coming right there.
All right, hey guys, welcome to our Tactical Tuesday live stream. This is, by the way, this is our holiday special here. I think you guys can hear me all right. We are down at Leatherwood Distillery. They haven't opened the door yet and let the crowd in, but I've got some awesome people here with to be our guests tonight. You know the deal. If you've got any questions or anything, we don't have, YouTube actually turned Super Chat off. They said they're not sure that we're actually Tactical Rifleman, you know, because we've only had a YouTube channel for 7 years. So they turned our Super Chat off. Don't worry about it, all right? If you want to make a preservation to the, if you want to make a donation to the Preservation of Carl Erickson Foundation, please join my Patreon. All right, we got lots of great content there, without a doubt. We got a sponsor tonight, USCCA. All right, my referral link is down in the description under the video. You guys know the deal. You join USCCA, get that education, the training, and you're prepared for what happens before, during, but also after that critical incident where you actually have to shoot to defend yourself or your family. It's kind of a big deal, man. So become the prepared protector that you need to be. And one of the ways to do that's with a USCCA membership, right? That's all I got. I'm done with this holiday stuff. You know that old fat guy's bringing me nothing but coal again. This will make 3 years straight. But I got another guy with a beard coming on tonight. And his name is Kyle Lamb, believe it or not. He's kicking around here somewhere. I also got Steve Holland kicking around, maybe a little bit of Randy Rawhide Worst. A few other people. I see Steve walking in now. They just opened the doors. Steve's got his box of woe. So always good stuff. Whenever Kyle wants to come visit, you ready?
I am.
All right, what side do you want to sit on? It don't matter, man. You make yourself at home.
I don't have a good side.
I was going to ask you, what's your good side? Do you have a good side?
No, I don't have a good side.
You're like me, huh? Two bad sides.
All right.
I got to give him all of the camera now. Kyle, first off, thanks for being on our show.
Good to be here.
I like, Steve just pulls this out his tail. I'm like, how do you know Kyle Lamb? And Steve's like, oh yeah, we go way back to fifth group before fifth group.
We actually had the same mom. You didn't know that. We're actually related.
Brothers
from another mother.
From another mother.
No, it's ours is from the same mother.
Yeah,
yeah. I know it's surprising.
Okay.
But, we don't look a lot alike, but we
he gets more sun than you, and your hair went a little whiter than his. You know.
Well, not up here though. I'm good up here.
Okay,
See,
that's fair. I got
natural.
a decent do going on still.
Yeah,
I do.
Looking good.
Yeah, I didn't realize that Steve was black till about 3-4 years ago. Because in SF, everybody's green. You know? No, I'm serious. You know, all this racial stuff people are losing their minds over. I was like, you just don't have that in SF. Everybody is your brother. And there's just too much truth to that. There really is. So anyways, thanks for being on the show. And everybody knows who you are, but a lot of them have lost track with you. You're doing podcasts though, I see that.
Still doing a lot of training, still running Viking tactics.
Nice, and they'll tell you, all these people that come take our classes, that we run VTAC targets in every class because of all the paper targets out, and I got all the people, hey Carl, I got a better target for you, and I'm like, it's pretty, but it doesn't do for me what a VTAC target does. So you put a lot of thought into that, man. You got that.
Well, I cleaned up a lot of ranges. So and really that's true because we would have an IPSC target or a USPSA target. We'd have bullseye targets, and then we'd be spray painting stuff. And then at the end of the class, you're like, we got 25-yard pistol bulls blowing all over the range. And I said, why don't we just make a target that's got all the bulls I need on one side. Now, some of the SF guys get upset because they shoot one side and they turn around, they're like, well, now it's wrecked. I can't use the other side. But they soon figure that out.
You sure those are SF guys, not MARSOC? I'm not even going to start bashing AFSOC.
Hey, I heard a good one today. So Greg Birch was, he was a regimental CSM.
Okay.
He had left our unit and went back to Rangers.
Ranger Regiment.
And I saw a quote from him today and it said, when the SEALs are in trouble, who do they call? They call the Rangers.
Okay.
When unit dudes are in trouble, who do they call?
Call the Rangers. Yeah, baby
when the
Hoolas.
Rangers are in trouble, you know who they call?
Who do they call?
More Rangers.
More Rangers.
I thought that was really good. It's really a true statement, though.
We bash the Air Force a lot. Soft guys do, and I actually learned this from an Air Force colonel, so I'm allowed to say it. And he told me the Air Force is an excellent alternative to military service. It really is. But the reality is, whether my A-team was sitting in Ethiopia when Eritrea attacked Ethiopia back in the 90s, or whether it was on the mountain in Afghanistan, whether it was Iraq, I was the bravest son of a gun if I had a Spectre gunship over my head. You know, it's like you said, man, we gotta stay hid till the sun goes down. Then we're good. Then we're good. But if the sun don't go down, we're screwed, because you can't call in an Apache. They don't look down very well, and. You know all about daytime battles. You're the one of the infamous. That's the correct word there from the whole Black Hawk Down thing.
That was like 500 years ago now.
It is. It really is 500 years ago. Everybody knows where they were when the towers fell. I know where I was when you guys were doing that. I was literally just starting down at Fort Sam Houston to earn my Green Beret. So Kyle was a couple generations of SF ahead of me, and thank you for all you did. Congrats on finally getting the Silver Star for it.
That was a kind of a bittersweet deal. I had heard from a friend of mine, they had kind of, I guess, General Miller kind of let the cat out of the bag during a West Point event where he was being broadcast there, but he said something to the guys that were there that had been in Somalia, and he said, hey, by the way, congratulations. And they're like, what are you talking about? So then when he said that, the guy that he told, he did some research, and he called me and he goes, do you know anything about this? And I said, no. And I thought, this is stupid. What's going on?
It's been literally
this is ridiculous.
Over 30 years.
Yeah,
right?
So, I don't think it wasn't 30 yet.
So Dane Bramage, and I'm not good at math.
So a few weeks later, I got the official list of who was getting upgraded, at least from our unit. And I kind of crossed paths with my wife in our laundry room, and I said, well, I just got this information, and it's true. Some of us are getting upgraded, And she said, how does that make you feel? And it didn't make me feel good, because one of the guys on that list was John Hale. And John Hale had been my team leader in Somalia. Unfortunately, John later on had taken his own life. So it was very bittersweet to see that list and then know, that one of the reasons that John ended up that way was
possibly,
because,
very much so.
It wasn't possibly. It was very much so. And I think that's one of the things that I was never happy that happened, because I kept going back to John. And then the other part was when we went to Fort Bragg for that ceremony, John's daughter, she received that award for her dad.
Wow.
Dude, so it's kind of a bittersweet deal. I think what really came out of that for me, and we've had this discussion now in our community, and not when I say our community, I'm talking about all of special operations, whether it's Dev Group, the SEALs, Air Force, whether CCT or PJs, SF, Rangers in our unit. One of the things that we found ridiculous is that numbers are placed on the amount of awards. It's a number game.
Which it shouldn't be. It should be based on merit, performance. What the guy actually did.
There was a group of operators fixing to go out the door in Afghanistan, and I never served in Afghanistan, but they were fixing to go out the door, and General Daly said, "Hey, and one other thing before you go, nobody's getting any awards for this, so don't even think about it." Who in the world says something like that to a bunch of fire-breathing pipe swingers that are heading out the door to do the deed?
We went from a general who talking to the 101st and the 82nd, getting ready to jump into Normandy, to a general standing in front of airborne troops saying, "Ain't nobody getting an award this time."
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah, and that's just one of many. And the way, do you know how the Silver Star thing came about?
No, I do not.
So we had a guy named Rick Landreth who wanted to be buried in Arlington, and when he passed away, they wouldn't allow him to be buried in Arlington where he wanted to be buried, and the reason was that his award wasn't high enough. So they said, okay, let's review this award. So his award gets reviewed, and then when his award gets reviewed, they go, yeah, he should have got a Silver Star. Why didn't he get a Silver Star? Well, he wasn't in this leadership position or whatever. It's just there was a certain number that could get it. So that happened, and then the guy that approved it said, I want every single award from Mogadishu on my desk ASAP. And he went through every award and reviewed them, and that's how that came about.
Nice.
And now they're looking at doing that for some other events that have taken place. But you know, once again, it doesn't mean anything to anybody except your family.
Yeah.
Really, because when I hear a story of what you've done on the battlefield, or Steve, or any of these other guys that we talk to, man, we all did the same thing.
Yeah,
we've all done
exactly
the same thing. So
exactly.
Anyway,
different places. I retired. I had my top ribbon said "continued on back." I look like Manuel Noriega. They're doing my DD 214, and I want to say it was like 27 ribbons. And most of them are, you know, thank you for going to Haiti, thank you for doing this, thank you. A lot of them I don't even know what they were. And it bothered me that it was so important as an E5 and as an E4 to get that ribbon and to get, but one of the biggest things I learned getting out of the military, and this is for all my young soldiers and Marines out there that are watching, because we actually got a lot of active duty guys that watch this, is at the end of the day, what matters, when you walk through the airport, you're gonna have a guy sitting there with his buddies, and he's gonna look at you and he's gonna go, you see that guy right there? He was a piece of shit. He walked all over his troops to advance his career, number one. Or they're gonna say, you see that guy right there? I would follow that guy through the gates of hell if he asked me to go with him right now. And that's what really matters. And I tell people from a leadership, I know you're big on promoting a lot of leadership for our young leaders out there. I retired as Sergeant Major. The job's easy, accomplish the mission, care and welfare of the troops. If you do those two things, everything else falls in place. And it's not that hard. But yeah, awards, I never got hung up on them.
Well, I think as leaders, though, what we got to remember is if you're just honest. So if you're honest about an award, then be honest and then get that guy the award they deserve. Don't be dishonest. And a good example of that is, you know, I got to sit on the E7 board one year, and it sticks out like dog balls when they're dishonest. Mm-hmm. You can tell if it's a truth or not just by reading that award, and you know if this guy should get promoted or not. So just tell the truth, and it'll make it easier on everybody else. And then the other thing, I was just reading a book today by Teddy Roosevelt, and he was talking about the Rough Riders when they went in Battle of San Juan Hill, Kettle Hill, and all that stuff. And one of the things he said, and this is super important, and I can take this back to when I first got to 5th Group too. He said that when they got back to the States, he wanted to make sure that everybody understood that the guys that stayed in the rear, that never even left the United States, were just as important as the guys that went downrange and fought. Because they didn't make that choice. The military made that choice for them. So let's back up to, you know, coming back from Desert Shield, Desert Storm. I was in 5th Group for about 4 days, I guess, you know. And I went straight from Arabic language school, deployed over here to Fort Campbell, or got stationed here, and then, I don't know, a week later I was in Desert Shield, Desert Storm. So I did that, and when I come back, they said, we need volunteers for people to go to air assault school.
Oh, shit.
And I'm thinking, I don't want any of that. And they said, oh, by the way, Lamb, what's up?
You're the cherry, you're going.
They said, you're the lowest ranking guy here. You're going to go to, good to see you.
Oh, that was toughest 10 days in the Army.
Yeah.
That's what they
Good to
call
see
it.
you, brother. Good to see you. You like that sword?
Oh, yeah.
Andy, you made it. How you doing, brother?
Doing
Guys,
good.
Andy, you guys know Andy. His bar, by the way.
So we showed up over there, and there's this kid, and I forget if he was an E5 or E6, but he super squared away 101st guy, and he told me specifically one day, we were just talking, and he had a Ranger tab, and I was kind of messing with him about that, and I said, you know what a Ranger tab is? And he goes, no, Sergeant, what is it? He must have been E5, because I was in E6.
Yeah,
he goes,
okay.
No, Sergeant, what is it? And I said, well, that's an SF tab set on stun. And which I've never been to Ranger school, so I can't really talk trash, but I ended up hitting it off with this guy pretty well.
I went to Anger School while I was in the 101st.
So
So
this kid, he says he went into the PX one day, or shopette, and they said something about, so are you deploying over there for this? And he goes, no, I'm an instructor here. And she's like, and like looked down her nose at this guy. So this is one of our trainers that's training our soldiers to go to combat.
Yeah.
And now I get it, if somebody's avoiding combat, and you've seen those guys,
you have.
that's fine. Then they're the ones you can disrespect.
Yeah.
But those that are in the rear with the gear because somebody has to do that mission, man, I know what it's like to miss it. I missed Afghanistan because I was a primary shooting instructor at our unit. They said, and John Hale was my sergeant major at the time, he said, you can't go, man. You have got to be here to train these students. Who's going to train them to go down range? And I was like, oh, this sucks. Yeah, this sucks terribly bad.
I was in a bar, airport bar at that, and there was a loud guy there, and I don't know if he was actually soft, but he was telling everybody he was, and he looked over at me. My wife's sitting right next to me, and he's like noticed my haircut, and he goes, "You in the military?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah." And he's like, "Well, you ever deploy?" And I'm like, "Nah, man, I was a cook, was at Camp Liberty in Iraq, never went outside the wire." And he's like, "Well, thank you for your service." And then he went back to telling his war stories. And they called our flight, me and my wife, we walked off. And my wife's like, "Why did you tell that guy you were a cook?" And it's because you talk to these guys. There were so many Green Berets in Iraq, you couldn't see the sand. It was like we were in the jungle. There were Green Berets everywhere, and I think it's unfortunate that a lot of vets feel as though they have to speak higher of themselves. Where just like you said a couple minutes ago, a Green Beret is not Rambo. A Green Beret is not Arnold Schwarzenegger. A Green Beret is somebody that's got all of the backside support guys with him. Task Force Raptor in Baghdad, we had 80 Americans there, not counting all of our Iraqi assaulters, and we couldn't have done mission one without the satellite imagery guys, the mechanics to fix the minigun vehicle that I broke every time I went out because I'd step on all their electrical connectors. And you need all the support troops. Yeah, without a doubt, we are one team indeed. Indeed. Yeah, Steve heard the word minigun, and he asked.
What does a minigun sound like, Carl?
Steve, why don't you let our viewers know he makes this really cool minigun? Come on, Steve, put the melon in here. Come here. Come here.
I'm not going to get memed this time.
There are memes on the internet of Steve it's hilarious. I owe Steve though, because he got the miniguns in the theater, and it was 2006. I was the sniper team sergeant, A-team sergeant, but whenever they weren't using the snipers, we'd just sit back, and the ground force sergeant major knew I was good on the minigun, so whenever he went out, Byron Russell, he said, "Hey, Erickson, you busy?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Man, I want you on the minigun tonight." So I got to go out, and who wants to be a driver or gunner? Nobody wants to do that unless you're behind a minigun at 3,000 rounds a minute. So we
many years ago though, we would have said, "Who wants to be black side security?" But then you realize that black side security they were bringing the scunion.
Oh yeah, because everybody's squirting off target.
Yeah,
Yep.
Scunion I think is actually in the dictionary.
I believe it probably is.
If you look, I think in the book of entomology, I think it actually comes from a couple SF dudes that were on black side security. They were bringing the scunion. You know, I got a war story about that. If you want,
okay, yeah,
if you want to hear it.
No, what do you think, guys? You're gonna let? I don't know. One of the biggest heroes in America share a war story. Go ahead.
No, see, I
Go
get
ahead,
that
brother.
sometimes, and I would like to correct that real quick because I'm just a guy that talks a lot of smack. So that's pretty much it. So
And
here we
he's
were.
humble. And
So here we were on the target, and they go, I was a troop sergeant major, they go, hey, why don't you just watch the back? And I'm like, roger that. Now this is before we could shoot squirters.
Okay, yeah.
So I got black side security.
Black side security.
By myself.
By yourself.
Man, I'm out there, me, myself, and I. Those were my pronouns that night.
Yeah.
So I guess I was they.
They.
So I'm back there, and boom, they've set off a breaching charge, and this dude comes out of that back door like Carl Lewis, and he is running like crazy. And I'm thinking, that dude's pretty fast. He's got his man jammies on, and he's getting, he's getting with it. And I'm thinking, I can't catch this guy. So I bring up my rifle, and I shoot. Intentionally, I want to be really close because I want him to hear the crack of the bullet right by his ear. So I hold off about a foot. I mean, I'm tight on this guy. And I shoot, crack, and he goes down. And I'm like, I know that everything's being videoed, and I'm thinking, I just shot this dude in the back of the head. Well, all of a sudden, he jumps back up, and now he's running twice as fast as he was before. All right, so I think, well, I got to go catch this guy. So I take off running by
yourself.
By myself.
Operation Bad Idea.
Yeah, Operation You're a Moron, right? But I got coverage over me, so I'm thinking, well, they can at least see where I'm going.
Yeah.
So I'm running. I think I might have put my strobe on or something. So I'm running down this road, and I'm like, this guy's fast. And all of a sudden, this ranger runs up beside me. He's like, hey, Sergeant Major, would you like me to catch him? I'm like, so he takes off. He runs 100 yards ahead of me. This dude is fast. He gets up there, and I come around the corner, and he's got his rifle up, and he's pointing at this toilet right there. You know, it's like a little concrete,
little outhouse on the back of the building.
Yeah, and it's just it's tiny. And he goes, like, he's in there, and I'm like, roger that. So I pull out a banger, a 9-banger. I pull the pin. I'm like, all right, here we go. So I drop it in the hole. Boo, 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 boo. This thing starts going off, and this dude comes rolling out of there, crapped all over himself. But yeah, there you go. There's one of my war stories. Most of my war stories ends up with me, being in trouble or something. But
I actually have a black side war story as a company sergeant major. Same thing, SIF company, attached to D Squadron, and. Same thing. They're hitting the front door, and Delta Cell got tagged with black side. Well, they were short a couple of guys, so rather than just dissolving them, I was like, look, I'm not doing anything tonight. I'll go out with D Cell. So I got this poor E7 who's got Private E9 Erickson on his assault side. I told him, like, dude, you're cell leader. You're cell leader.
Yeah.
Same thing. ISR says that the guy ran down 3 rooftops and then jumped down and takes off running, and they start sparkling. They got the IR laser on this guy. You're watching it come down from the heavens. It's on a Predator drone.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, come on, we're going. He's like, we gotta wait. I'm like, you're coming with me or you're not. And PV9 then became E9. And so anyways, they run with me, and the whole time he's calling out, Sergeant Major's off doing his own thing again. But we get out there, and it's pointing at, there's 3 buildings. Well, the one in the middle, they're just starting to build it. So the walls for the rooms are only 3 feet tall. So like you got the layout of all the rooms, but they're basically perfect ways to hide. And the IR beacon is that, it's just a dot of light, but it's a 3-foot wide dot of light. And it's hitting the edge of this building and the edge of I'm like, come on, we got to go. And he's like, man, Sergeant Major, we got. I'm like, all right, well, you pull security. So I'm clearing this building by myself. The walls are only 3 feet tall. It might as well have been, might as well have been a tape drill in OTC, right?
Yeah.
So I get to the end and I was like, the guy is not, there's nobody here. But then I look at the light and the building right next to me had a basement, but it had a little outer way with like French doors and like going up, it's like 4 foot deep enough for, it actually had a reclining lawn chair in it. And I looked down in there, there's nothing in there, and I backed up, the light's still pointing down. And so I lean over and, rifle white light. And I see a foot sticking out from underneath the lawn chair. So I start verbally interrogating this guy, lots of profanity, and he would not come out at all. So same thing. Instead of a 9-banger, yeah, exactly. So I didn't use a 9-banger. I used a flashbang, but I tried to drop it so it would bounce away from him and just stun the hell out of him. Where it dropped, it did bounce, but it bounced and went right up between his feet.
Oh.
And it went off, and he immediately got up and put his hands up, and I flex cuffed him. I pulled him up by the flex cuff, saved the day. That's not the bad part. The bad part was, like you said, everyone at Starfleet Command is watching the Predator feed. And they're like, oh my God, they just fragged this guy because of you never see flashbangs because they're always inside the building. They're never outside. And I guess to them, they thought that I had fragged this guy bigger than him. No, and I got him up, and about time I called for support, up comes the rest of the troop. And nobody yells at the sergeant major. So I could have got away with fragging him. I could have got away with it, but that's my black side story, guys. Not as cool as his with the shitter and everything.
We were out one night and we were sneaking up on this objective. We'd dropped our vehicles off and we're slurping up there, and we had the eye in the sky, and the guy that was up there running it that night is the guy that I served in Somalia with.
Okay.
And a guy named Dan, one of the pilots, and we were close. I mean, like, we were really close to the door of this objective, and all of a sudden, this guy walks out, and as soon as he walks out, they're like, hey, we got a guy moving. What they couldn't see from up top was there were about 15 lasers on this guy's chest. And he walks out to the edge of the concrete, whips it out, takes a leak, looks around, doesn't, he has no idea. We're standing right there in front of him. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this is crazy. Well, he turns and he goes back inside. And the first thing I did was I looked over my shoulder because I thought, how did this guy not see us silhouetted out here? Because it was not a bright night, but it wasn't super dark. And there was a little mound behind us. So we weren't silhouetted. We were in front of that mound. If we wouldn't have been, he would have seen us. And then the funny thing that night, that building was actually round on the inside. They don't teach you how to clear round buildings.
Go to your point of domination.
And then
move to your first corner.
Just keep going. So we and there's more to that story, but we ended up pulling this guy out of there, and I started to talk to him nicely, of course. And he told me
tactical questioning. We don't torture anymore.
He tells me, now this guy, I want to really paint the picture. This guy's like 5'5", and he tells me that he plays for the Iraqi national basketball team. So needless to say, he rode on a helicopter that night. So you never know what you're going to hear out there.
You never know. Funny stuff. Wow. So what are you up to now?
Well, I play the part of a homeless guy many days just because it works. I had that happen in New York City. My wife got pizza, or we all ate pizza. My wife and I ate pizza at what's it called there, Times Square, around that area. And we ended up, we're done eating, and we go over there, and she goes, well, I want a box for this pizza. And I go, I'm not eating cold pizza in my room in New York City,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? She goes, no, I need 3 boxes. So we get these 3 pieces of pizza. She's like, no, just don't worry about it. So we head out of there. We go by the train station, and she goes to these homeless dudes. And I'm like, what is she going to do? My wife's pretty squared away. So she goes over, and first guy, she hands him a piece of pizza, and he goes, God bless you, or whatever.
Yeah.
Next lady, or next guy, oh, thank you so much, ma'am, and all this. Goes to the third one. And I'm standing there watching this, and I'm thinking, now that's pretty cool that she's giving this pizza to these homeless guys. And then a dude walks up to me and he goes, here you go, man. Gives me $5. Gives me $5.
He's
'cause
following
he thought
her example.
I was a homeless dude. And anyway, so that's how I make my income.
You look
now,
like
but,
a vet. You look like a vet.
No, so one of the things that we always hear in our community, guys are suffering and they're all this trauma and everything, and yeah, that's fine. But I think that what separates some of us from others is if you still have a mission.
Yeah, very much so.
You have a mission.
Yeah.
So it keeps your mind focused on that mission. I don't care what that mission is. That's what I try to do. I've got to have a mission. When I get up in the morning, I'm not saying I don't take days off, but when I take a day off, I have a mission. So when I have a day off, my mission might be I'm going fishing. Going fishing, I mean, I got to get my kayak ready, or I've got to get the boat ready, or whatever. So you have a mission that you're going to take care of there. So that's one of the things I try to continue with that, because if I don't have a mission and I sit down for even 30 minutes without something going on in my brain, if I don't have a book to read, or maybe a podcast to listen to, or a book to listen to, or I've been making a lot of knives and tomahawks lately. That's something I like to do.
We're going to get into that.
I like to stay busy. So I guess my point is, I'm doing a lot of different stuff, but I have to do that to keep my mind engaged so that I don't start going down a bad road.
You got to stay busy for sure, without a doubt. Without a doubt, they will tell you because according to my wife, that I spend more time with my viewers here than I do with her, and I'm trying to do better on that. I am, because she's right. My wife before the towers fell, she would bitch every once in a while. Too many back-to-back. Doing J sets and stuff on an A team. I was still gone 7 to 9 months out of the year, and all I told her was, if it's ever for real, please don't bitch, because I need to have my mind in the game. And when the towers fell, bless her heart, she never bitched at all. And
she's the one that needs to get a silver star.
Without a doubt. And I tell people that. And I've done a lot of messed up stuff in my life, but my only regret in life, and I've got my son sitting right here, trying to spend time with him, my only regret in life, because sometimes doing things wrong, it makes you who you are, but my only regret in life is when the towers fell, I missed 10 years of my son growing up.
Yeah.
And my daughter was only 1 at the time, so she missed out on not as much of dad. But yeah, I try to make things up to my son. He actually's got me back static line jumping. I swore I would never Halo again, let alone static line.
Yeah.
But there's a jump club down in Florida, round canopy parachuting team. They do the World War II reenactments. They jump into Normandy every June. So me and my son, not June this year, 2023, 2024 is the 80th anniversary. We are going to go jump into Normandy out of a C-47 awesome. Tycho Bell is the name of the airplane. And how many jumps you got now, Nick?
17.
He's got 17 static line jumps.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Man, I'm a bad influence on this boy. I really am. I'm a bad influence. So funny stuff. Yeah, funny stuff indeed.
No, we're still doing the VTAC stuff too. Still teaching classes, still trying to design products and get that out there. Still writing, doing a lot of writing. Once again, all of that stuff is to keep my brain engaged and doing something. And I also help out with Warrior's Heart. I'm on the board with those cats, so that they've been
I'm not familiar with them. I'm sure a lot of our viewers aren't either. What is Warrior's Heart?
Warrior's Heart out of Bandera, Texas.
Okay.
So we can send law enforcement, military, and first responders there for kind of whatever they need. So normally it's drug or alcohol addiction,
Yep.
along with, it might be depression or something to that matter. If you have TBI, then that's probably not the place to go. I'm not saying that they're not good at that. It's just that there's other places you can go for TBI treatment. But that place was started by a friend of mine, Tom Spooner, and a couple other folks. And it's awesome. I mean, it's really a good place.
They have a website?
Yeah. Just go, if you type in Warrior's Heart.
Warrior's Heart.
Yeah, and if guys are struggling, it's a great place to get the help you need, and it's something I take real serious. When I first got out of the military, I had a lot of people trying to get me to do veterans events for them, and very quickly I didn't enjoy that, because a lot of times they would parade guys across the stage, and then money would go to some organization, but the GIs would never see any of that. And I was at an event, and Tom Spooner and I were just hanging out. I'd put him through OTC, just super good dude, and he was in A Squadron. He said, "Hey man," I said, "What do you got cooking?" He goes, "We've been working on this thing called Warrior's Heart." And I go, "Well, what is that?" And it was just at the very beginning of Warrior's Heart. And he tells me, he goes, "Well, here's what we're doing." He tells me this, and I go, "Oh." I said, "Well, what do you need?" And he goes, "I need customers. I need our friends that are struggling.
Yeah.
I need those guys."
Thanks, JT, for putting the link in the chat. I
Perfect.
appreciate that.
So when he said that, I was like, "Oh, so you need us to bring the people that need the help?" He goes, "Yeah." And I go, "What else do you need?" And he goes, "That's all I need." "So you're not asking for money?" And he goes, "No, that's not our job.
Okay.
Our job is to fix people. We'll worry about the other part of that." So I'm not saying you shouldn't donate if you want to donate.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, guys like us, we have friends that are struggling, and it was another probably 2 years after that before I actually tried the. How we used to carry the alert rosters in your billfold. You'd have everybody's numbers and the call tree or whatever.
I actually found one. It was in my shaving kit of all places. Like the whole company roster. I'm like, why?
So I was in a hotel somewhere in the U.S. one night, and this buddy of mine, he actually doesn't live too far from here, a guy named Duke Krieger. I call him the Righteous Duke. He's a school-trained preacher, I guess you would say.
We got a guy we call him the Breacher Preacher. He lives down in Nashville, John Mon, one of my old breachers. But similar.
Yeah, so Righteous Duke there, he says, "Hey man, I got this guy." And I go, "Okay, what's the deal?" And he gives me a quick, sit rep on this cat. I was like, "All right, stand by." So I'm sitting once again in this hotel room somewhere. I dial the number to Warrior's Heart, and they pick it up and they go, "This is Warrior's Heart. How can I help you?" And I go, "Wow." I mean,
somebody actually answered the phone. That's kind of cool, right? Yeah.
"My name is Kyle Lamb, and I'm not the guy that needs help, but I have a guy that needs help. What do I do?" And she's like, "You just need to get him on the phone with me. Give me his name." I gave her his name, and by the next morning, he was enrolled and quickly headed to Warrior's Heart, and
That's
has had a
awesome.
huge success story, since then. And one of the things I would say is, sometimes our success is not what we want it to be, though.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff that happened to this guy, he ended up divorced. Well, him and his wife or his ex-wife have a great relationship, but they're not together anymore. So when the good Lord says, "Yeah, I'm going to pull you out of this, whatever it is, and this is how it's going to end," you don't have a lot of say in that.
Yeah, exactly.
And but he's been very successful and sober ever since. So, I mean, we have a lot of our guys that struggle with that, and it's a good place to get them hooked up with.
All right, so we got a lot of great viewers out there. We got a lot of vets watching. I've got a lot of guys that I personally have helped. I'm looking at you, JT. You're good people. You know you are. You just got to keep fighting a good fight. But a lot of you, if you know, everybody knows vets, all right? But if you know somebody that's having issues, this is a place that we can push them to. That's cool. I'm unfamiliar with Warrior Heart. We will, I'm going to check them out. I'm going to check them out.
Do you know, oh my God, Teddy Lanier?
The name's familiar.
Yeah, long
all you
time
crackers look alike.
Well,
to me,
he's a
though.
range 37 dude.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and he's one of the main dudes that helps
Okay.
Warriors Heart as well. So another really, really good, and he went through as a patient. So super good dude. And then we started a 501c3, my wife and I did, called Stay in the Fight Foundation. And the only thing I'd like people to take away from that is two things. One is we help anybody. You don't have to be a veteran or law enforcement to get help. And then the second thing is if people make donations to the Stay in the Fight Foundation, 100% of that goes to help people, not 90%. Melinda and I don't take one penny out of that. If there's admin fees that have to be paid, Viking Tactics pays those. Every bit of that money.
Every bit of it. And that's Stay in the Fight?
Stay in the Fight Foundation.
Stay in the Fight Foundation.
That's where the knife thing came about as well.
Yeah, you were talking about that earlier. Well, I'll tell you what, we keep talking knives. You guys want to see a couple of Kyle's knives?
Grab a few things.
Badass knives, by the way. It's Tactical Rifleman. We like guns and all, but if you hadn't noticed, we've got a bit of a knife fetish. We really do. We like our knives. Look at that.
Got some crazy stuff here.
You look at that and you're like, I just really want to shank somebody with that. I really do,
Let me get my mic back on there real quick.
Full disclosure, I have never killed anybody with a knife. I never have. However, I'm only 55.
I've cut myself pretty good with a knife.
Yes,
though.
I have. I've actually stabbed 3 guys with knives. The sad part is all 3 of them were American.
So I got into making some tomahawks. So this one's kind of a rough looking deal, but it's got a kind of a cool hammerhead on the back there, ash handle. And I started doing this just because it's good for your heart, like for
this is therapy, is what this is.
Yeah, for warriors to make stuff like this, it's a lot of fun. And then I was like, well, I got that not figured out, but it's kind of fun. Well, then I made this. I actually made the Damascus for that. This
oh
small
wow!
one.
I didn't realize that was Damascus.
And that's handmade Damascus. I didn't have a press at the time.
Can you guys? Wow.
So then I realized there was this other stuff called San Mai. So then I started working on stuff like this, which San Mai is a layered steel. This one has a layer of nickel in between a layer of 1084 and 15N20. Kind of interesting. And then I had a crazy idea one day to make a fixed blade pocket knife.
See the belt clip on it, guys?
So it's got a pocket clip on there, and then it's got a sheath that allows you to, when you pull that out, it'll hook on whatever in your pocket, pull that out, and if it doesn't, it's got a dummy cord. It also has straps so you can put it on your belt there. And then out of that came a little bit bigger version of that. Yeah. I keep going the wrong way here.
Look at the, me too. Look at this handle. We're going to talk about this in a second here.
So
guys.
this handle looks crazy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But when you grab it,
yeah.
it just, either way that you grab it, it feels really, really good. Same thing, this one's a little bit,
same handle on the end of it.
Same handle there.
Nice.
And then, I showed you the tomahawks. Then I had this old piece of steel laying around, so I decided to make a Winkler type hatchet.
Yeah, I saw a picture of that before you put the handles on.
Yeah, and the handles on this one are not all the way on yet, but Steve wanted me to bring that to kind of show you. It's got some micarta, and I put that asymmetric heart, which is something that the old timers always did, and not always, but in some of the tomahawks from way back when.
Yep.
Of course, this is made out of a piece of 80 CRV2, so it's not forged at all. And then I brought this one just because I had it laying around. I just made this a couple days ago. This is a really big knife, isn't it?
Now, you did not buy that as a blank. You actually took that as a piece of stock and
right. So
ground
this
it
is
down.
this is not forged. This is started from a piece of steel, and I cut it out to shape, and then I ground it. You can see how that's done. This is a flat grind. This is the very first one I ever laser etched, not laser etched, but it's done with electricity to etch that in there. Normally I stamp them, but this one is etched. And then I have one other one here that I don't know if you'll be able to see this in the camera, but this.
That's not a knife. This is a knife.
This is a Viking sword that I'm working on right now. That thing's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a little more than just cool. Guys, you understand how long this thing is, even if we held it back, right? Look at the size of that puppy. It's already You could already lop a melon.
Yeah, and
with
it hadn't even
hadn't even sharpened it yet.
So on this, I'm going to try to do this without cutting myself. But if you look there, you can see some of the embellishments. So I did all
right
those
here,
by
guys.
hand.
Ain't that
That's kind of
badass?
a old school shell look, and then the you can see the copper and all that stuff
Yeah.
by hand. And then I normally a Viking sword, this would be peened, but what I did here was I actually threaded the tang, made this faceted cap out of a piece of 4140. Then I broke the tang, so then I had to cut a slot out, weld a piece of all thread on there to make that. But yeah, so this is not forged. However, the guard, this part is forged, and yeah, so that's what I've been doing, and I would highly recommend anybody, man, any SF dude. If you don't like making knives, I mean,
There's something wrong with you. There's
Yeah.
something wrong. We actually built a forge, not me. One of my assaulters, Scotty Pierce is his name. He built a forge right there at Raptor Base in Baghdad. And he had like 4 hair dryers hooked up to run the air into it.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, he comes walking in with 4 boxes with hair dryers. 2 of them are purple and 2 of them are pink. And I'm like, dude, I know you swing both ways, but what are you doing? And he's like, Sergeant Major, I'm making a forge. I'm like, all right, show me. I don't, but he started knocking out tomahawks right there. And yeah, it's a great hobby. And it gives your mind something to do.
well,
It
so
really
the first
does.
time I forged, when I was a kid, I'd done some welding and I had actually worked on some horseshoes, but I never had forged any weapons. I'd made some knives as a kid in shop class,
Yeah.
but I'd never forged. So a friend of mine, John Labella, says, hey, why don't you come over to Ohio for this forging class? And I asked my son, I said, hey, you want to go to this thing? So my son was like, yeah, roger that. So my son and I went to that first thing together, and I met another guy named Mike Hawkins at that event, and we've become very good friends. He helped my son. I thought he was a newbie too, but ends up he'd been to several of these classes. But he took my son underneath his wing
Yeah.
to help him out, and then when we came back, I'm like, man, I got to get set up to do this. But while I was there, I'm standing by this forge, and I'm looking at this piece of steel as it's heating up, and I'm trying to think, okay, what am I supposed to do next? And like 6 hours later, I realized that all I thought about that day was that piece of steel and being creative. Like, what am I going to do with this piece of steel when I pull it out of this heat?
Anything dark going on in your mind, any worries that you had, problems with the
gone.
family, problem with work, problem with health, everything had left your mind except that piece of steel.
Yeah, and
that's
people that know
awesome.
me know that I'm pretty scatological. I'm all over the map. I see
Yeah.
something shiny, I got to go, do whatever. Now, when you look at what I'm making now, it's all over the map because I lose interest for a minute, so I go and work on something else. Then I lose interest and I go back to work on whatever.
I don't know, they kind of look alike. No. No, that's awesome.
But
that is.
one of the things I tackled, I saw a knife made by a guy, and I can't remember his name right now, but he did brass inlay. And I was like, Joe Kiesler, I think is his name. And I thought, brass inlay? Well, how do you do that? Well, there's this thing called YouTube. So there's Joe Kessler or Kiesler, I'm not sure how you say his last name. He's kind of demonstrating how to do it, but he's not really telling us everything because it's not really a class. He's just kind of demonstrating. So I went out and I just started butchering some wood and trying to shove these pieces of brass into it. And next thing you know, I've got brass inlaid knives and tomahawks and the thing about that is it's very intricate.
This is what you're talking about right here, right?
No. Those are just pins.
Okay.
Brass inlay is I'm actually taking a small piece of brass that's flattened and I'm cutting a slot and I'm putting it in that slot, driving it down there, and
Making
then
a
I'm wetting
design.
the wood.
Yep.
And then the wood swells up and holds it in.
Nice.
So I can stand there at my workbench for 3 hours. Working on this thing and I've got my glasses on and I've got a jeweler's thing down here, a loop, and I'm working on this thing.
I can just picture you doing it.
Yeah, and it's intense. And I get done, I'm like, wow, 3 hours have went by and I don't even realize that it's happened,
Let me see. I have, the way I take questions from the peanut gallery is I have moderators, and one of my moderators is actually in Australia. She sends questions. We're not interrupting you, Susan. We're not going to interrupt him, but I'm just checking to see if she has, she actually has one question for you. Hey, Kyle, what kind of forge are you using? From James Whittaker.
All right, so I'm using a chili forge.
Okay.
And I think it's the double burner oval forge. It's too big, so if you're going to get into forging, what I would recommend a chili forge, and I have no connections to chili forge. They just were awesome. There's a lady that works there. You call her up. Her husband's building these forges, and they were just awesome people. And I also bought the stand with the wheels so I can wheel this thing around. And now I've got it set up. I've got an underground tank built so I can get propane from that. It's
wow.
It's a good way to set up. But the chili forge is the one I would highly recommend. Mine's a 2-burner. You may not need that, but if you're only going to do knives and tomahawks, then maybe a 1-burner or a smaller forge because it'll get hot a little bit quicker. But if you decide to do something a little bit larger,
Viking swords,
then you may want to get something a little bit bigger. When I actually heat treated this, so 1084, I think it's got to be at like 1400 degrees. I had this in the forge. It got a little too hot, and all of a sudden, one end was drooping out one side, and this was drooping out the other side. And I'm like, no, and so that's pretty tricky to get that right.
People want to know how to buy the knives. You knew this was coming. We talked about this earlier. I'm gonna let him break your hearts. I'm gonna let him break your heart.
So don't call me, we'll call you. How about that? No, actually, so here's how we do that. And this is gonna sound terrible, but I'm just gonna be completely honest. When I finish this knife and I put it up on the shelf, I am totally done with it. And I'm not trying to be mean, but I don't care anymore about that knife because I got what I wanted out of it, which is to keep my brain working correctly.
You're not making 50 of them because you're not a knife maker who's commercially selling knives.
Yeah, if you want to buy commercial knives, then you got to go to our website, and this is one I designed that we actually have made by Hogue. That's called the Patriot folding knife. Okay, those you can go on our website, Viking Tactics, and buy. If you want something that I made by hand, the best way to do it is to go on our website, hit contact us, tell Melinda that you're interested in buying one of the knives I've made, and we'll just send you a bunch of photos. You can look at them. If there's something you want, great. If there's not, I don't take orders. I took orders one time, and then they canceled the order, and then they come back a week later and said, no, actually, we do want that. And I said, no, I don't take orders. And they go, well, you took one a week ago. And I go, yeah, that was a week ago.
Yeah,
I don't take orders anymore.
That's awesome.
So I only make what I want to make just because I have a day job. I don't want this to turn into a job. And then once you find a knife that you like, then all we ask that you do is go and make a donation to the Stay in the Fight Foundation, and the knife is yours. All of us have different fiscal capabilities, so that's up to you to donate.
How much you're going to donate?
That's totally up to the donor. If they want to, if they want to give me $50 for this knife, they're a freaking cheapskate. But I would say usually we don't have to worry about cheapskates because people are very, very, very generous. The very first,
100% of it goes to Stay in the Fight.
100%. So the very first donor was a guy named Craig Morgan. You ever heard of him, the country singer?
Yeah.
So Craig doesn't live too far from where we're at right now. And I showed up, much like we're doing here. He's doing a live event, and we were filming it for YouTube as well. And I pulled out this tomahawk, and he goes, how much for that tomahawk? And I said, it ain't for sale. And it's the very first one I actually did silver inlay. It started out as a snake, but ended up being an arrow because snakes are kind of creepy, But an arrow's cool in the SF thing. I mean, I took a piece of brass and I inlaid it like this all the way up, and then it came up and it was the arrow. So it had the fletching down here and had the point at the top. It was pretty cool. I've actually got a picture on my phone I can show you later, but he was killing him that I wouldn't sell him that tomahawk. So I finished doing what I'm doing, and he wanted me to lay everything out and film it, and we're filming it, and he goes,
I really want
seriously,
that
he
tomahawk.
goes, really, I'd really like to buy that tomahawk. And I said, dude, it's not for sale. However, if you want to make a donation to the Stay in the Fight Foundation, then that's your tomahawk. And he says, I'll give you $1,000 for it. So he wrote a check for $1,000. I handed him the tomahawk, and that's how that all started. So Craig Morgan is the first guy that ever did that. And since then, there's been many, and I always use Craig as an example because that's a very nice donation. There's been other guys that have donated that haven't given quite that much just because, once again, their means, they want something. I'm not going to deny that. And I got a whole shelf full of stuff. I don't advertise it because I'm not trying to sell it.
Yeah.
Melinda will come sometimes and say, what do you got that I can show these guys? And she'll take some photos, send it off to them. And one of the things you got to remember, this stuff is handmade.
Yeah.
So when you get it, if you're thinking you're gonna pull something out that looks like it's been made on a machine, that's not this knife. These are they're handmade. So they're that's a little hard to see, but it's they're not
but
absolutely
at the
perfect.
same time, he's selling himself short, guys, because they're not machine made. But like when he said that's a flat grind, I don't know anybody that could do that without it being done on a machine. There's a lot of work in that.
So there's
I see one little spot right there.
Yeah, well, you know why? Because when I polished this part right here, that got polished. This hasn't been polished yet. So once this gets done, all of that will go away.
Dude.
So there's a guy named Alan.
Handmade, but that is
Yeah,
perfect.
this is a cool knife right here. So Alan Elischwitz Knives, he's a former recon Marine. So he's got normally he has crayon stuck in his teeth and stuff,
Yeah,
but
Marine, you did say Marine, yeah, so we know what
but
you're
Alan
talking about.
Elischwitz is a very good friend of mine, and he's the guy that taught me how to grind knives. I sent him some pictures of some of the knives I'd made, and he goes, dude, you need help with your grinding because you suck. And I'm thinking, you're kind of a dick, man, what's up? And he goes, I'm gonna teach you how to grind, which is pretty exciting when you got a guy that's a professional knife maker gonna teach you how to grind. So I said, man, when can I come to your shop? And he goes, you're not coming to my shop. I'm coming to your shop. So he came to my shop
Well, that's
taught me how
awesome.
to grind in my shop with my equipment, and he taught me only how to hollow grind. And hollow grinding is much tougher than flat grinding.
Yeah.
And once he taught me that, he's like, okay, now if you want to flat grind, go for it, but now you know how to hollow grind.
Yeah.
So I made some crazy knives initially, hollow grinding, some Tontos and some things like that. But yeah, so Alan Elischwitz, super cool cat. He's also a big martial artist. His knives are just unbelievable, but he's taught me a lot. And when I see him, I was just up at a class I was teaching at SIG, and he showed up for the class. And he goes, you got any of your knives with you? And I go, yep. And he goes, all right, I want to critique them. And that's what he does. Every time I see him, I pull out knives that I've made, and I show them to me, and he's honest, which is what I want.
Yeah.
I don't want I don't want to get smoke up my butt.
That's how people get better. You know? And I try to explain that to people, Green Berets, but we're very blunt. Hey, this is screwed up. Well, dude, you should have said that better. You hurt his feelings. No, you don't, because when you're in a shoot house and you screw something up, the guys on the catwalk have got to be blunt. So we're used to being critiqued very, very hard. That's awesome. That is awesome.
Some folks can't handle that critique.
Yeah, they can't. A lot of people can't handle it.
That's one of the things that we in our community really have to work hard at. And I've had this conversation a bunch in the last 6 months. And I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, there's the guys that we're on the battlefield with are the hardest guys to critique. And I say that because most of our guys perform at a higher level than just Joe person on the street.
Yeah.
So if you perform at a higher level, I believe that it's harder for you to take that critique than it would be for just some person that doesn't have a clue about what they're doing. So that being said, it's harder for us to do that. That means we have to do it more and more and more, and we keep repeating that. Because you know how it is. The first time you go in the shoot house and they tell you, no, you did this wrong, you're like, well, wait a minute. No. Stop. Shut up and listen. and here's what you did wrong. Do you understand? Roger that.
Roger that.
And I was lucky enough that I was so young, I was scared to death. When I went through OTC, I didn't have I was like, I'm going to do whatever they tell me to do. And hopefully that helped me. And then as I got older, and I matured a little bit more, I already had that built into me to be able to take that critique. And you know, if you're out there doing what we do in your afterlife of being an SF guy, so whether you're instructing or working in business or whatever it might be, when you ask somebody to tell you how you're doing, hopefully you want honesty.
Yeah.
Because if they're just blowing smoke, that doesn't help you a bit. Honesty is going to make you better at whatever it is, you know. And that's why when I love that you said that. You're like, yeah, there's a little mistake right there. Well, that will be gone the next time you see this.
It's gonna be gone.
Yeah, like
I will fix it.
Let's say if that's the knife you wanted to donate for right there, we could have that done for you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? And it'll be perfect.
Miss Britcher, she actually pointed out that could we auction one to raise auction one off to raise money. Honest guys, he already told you how you can do that. You go through him. Yeah, everybody's focused on the holidays right now. Y'all have already blown your wad buying presents for people. That's fine. I have a GoFundMe I'm going to hit you guys with next week. That's dear to my heart. But I'm going to bug you all next Tuesday about it. Unless you want to auction one off for a charity tonight. But is there anyone you just hate and you don't want to carry home because it's hurting your gas mileage?
Well, you know, this one right here is kind of a cool knife. So that's cool. San Mai. So that's got a layer of nickel in there. And it's kind of hard to see that grip, but the grip is made out of denim. Now, it doesn't look like that and doesn't feel like that, but that's denim like you would make a pair of jeans out of. And now, once again, this is a forged knife. This was beat out of layers of steel. So there's actually a layer of 1084 here. There's 2 layers of nickel, one on each side, and then 2 layers of 15N20. And then if you look it's hard for them to see, but you can see that little line there. That's where the nickel comes out the top. So if you want to do that knife there, yeah, sure, go for it.
That's up to you.
No,
dude, I'm not meaning to put you on the spot.
No, that's
Susan.
good.
Blame
that
Susan.
way I don't have to carry this thing home.
Because you know it's hurting the gas mileage. He's got a nice RV outside. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's RV, but it's a nice RV. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. Wow, you guys realize Kyle Lamb made this knife, and Susan, we're going to let you and Donut in the chat room. You guys work out. You guys bid, but if I catch one of you guys bidding and not being serious about it, I'll cut you. I'll cut you bad.
Let me see if I've sharpened this one. Yeah, I need to sharpen this one. So here's what we'll do. Whoever gets it, I will take this with me. You'll send me their address.
Yeah.
And I will get it squared away, sharpened up, and then we'll ship it probably for like Friday.
So here's the deal. No, guys, please don't do jackassery. All right. Ray Craddock, I know you're in there. Don't be bidding $10,000.
Jason Gatliff? Does that say Jason Gatliff?
Yeah, you got all kinds of good people here.
Look at how cheap he is right here. Look at how cheap that joker
I know,
is.
250
and that guy,
bones.
he owns Muzzleloader magazine, and he's come on, bro.
Guys, that handle costs more than that. You know how many pair of jeans he had to take off of skinny girls?
Jason Gatliff poops in a bucket. That's something you don't know about, but that dude is worse than an SF guy.
Oh.
He carries around a bucket in his van, and he poops in a bucket. And then he ties it up, and he drops it in the trash at Walmart.
There's just some stuff that doesn't need to be shared on the internet.
He went higher. Wait, what's he at now? We gotta shame him into a little bit. Come on, Jason.
That wasn't him.
Come on.
We got to go higher than that. He hit you with an LOL instead. Guys, 500. 500. You get the denim he took off of a bunch of skinny gun babes. No, there's a lot of really small pairs of jeans that had to be crushed. And you get 2 brass.
Whoa, what does that say right there?
550 bones.
Wow.
That's it? No, guys. Now you understand. I'll pay more than 550. Just because I want to. You understand? I collect knives. All right.
We got to talk about. Oh wait, he says I'm waiting
He's waiting.
on my chopper. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to be making. But remember, I don't take orders.
You don't take orders,
Yeah.
but you just admitted that you're making something for him.
I'm not. He's told me he wants a chopper that I already made, and I said no because I'm not going to get rid of that knife because another guy helped me make that knife.
Okay.
And I said no.
That's fair. That's
nope,
fair.
Not going to do it.
Here's the deal, guys. We're gonna run this until I got 8:05. When you want to draw it? 8:30, 9 o'clock. How long are you staying?
Let's go 8:30.
8:30. You guys got 25 more minutes. We're up to 750.
750.
Every dime of this goes to Stay in the Fight. Stay in the Fight.
Yep.
Whatever it is, you need to pitch in an extra $20 just to cover postage and handling. JT.
No, we got that. We'll pay that. We got that. VTAC will pay for the shipping it out.
I'm
So
trying
it's
to
all
get
good.
an extra $15 for you, man. I'm trying to take care of you. All right, well, you guys are running that stuff. We are going to do a giveaway tonight. Steve. See Steve Hollins in the back of the bus.
No, he's outside.
He's outside. We have Inga. That's not her real name. No, ma'am. Come here. You guys remember Inga? Right?
Kaylee, but yes, I answer to whatever.
She reminds me of the German bar wenches.
Oh, like the-
No, she's such awesome. She is awesome. She runs the place. Ma'am, could we get a bottle like we did last year? Last time we were here. Would you mind autographing a bottle?
No,
and
that's
we're going to
perfect,
give it
yeah.
away in the live stream here. So what do you think?
This is awesome,
Guys, we're gonna do a giveaway of a bottle, but not gonna cost you a dime. As a matter of fact, it's gonna cost me the bottle and the shipping and handling. But I think it's awesome, and I want to take care of you guys because I love having you guys here. We used to do our live streams on Tactical Rifleman, our YouTube channel, and then that's the good stuff right there. Snake Eater Whiskey. Snake Eater Whiskey. When Steve comes back in, Steve told me he was going to bring a paint pen so we could have the legend Kyle Lamb autograph it for you guys. Yeah, we're gonna make that happen. I lost my train of thought. I don't remember what I was talking. We used to be on Tactical Rifleman, but YouTube, for some reason, they don't like. I don't know, people that tell the truth and people that I call apple, I call orange, orange.
I'm gonna do you one better, brother.
Are you really?
There's only 2 of them left.
Wow, nice.
Oh, that is
60th
Nice.
anniversary.
Oh, that's
60th
awesome.
anniversary, 5th group bottle. Guys, this is one of 2 left on the planet. I got one in my man room, and I won't drink it because it is limited edition. Dude, that's awesome, dude. I appreciate that. I appreciate
Hold on to a
that.
couple.
Nice. All right, so anyways, we have our new YouTube channel, right? You guys are all here, TR Live, and it's just for our live streams. Someday I'll do podcasts like you, and I'll be awesome. I haven't reached awesome status yet, but I do try to follow in his footsteps. Right? I teach classes. I got out. I was going to go be a contractor and pay off my house, grow old, and die. And my best friend told me my leg's cramping up. Got on the mountain bike, and I hadn't been on it in a while. All right. So my best friend told me, he's like, well, that's awful selfish of you. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, you got all these new young Green Berets and you've got all this experience. You need to share it with the next generation. So instead of deploying as a contractor, told my wife, honey, instead of doing that, I'm gonna take a job, tier 1 group down in Memphis, and I'm gonna train the next generation. And she said, that's great, I don't want you deploying anymore. And okay, that worked out good. And training military at Dutch Delta and the Kiwis and hell, even the Jordanian guys, the Saudi Kings, personal security detail, train everybody. But then I realized that there's a lot of concerned citizens out there that they need to be learning a lot of the same stuff too. So I've pretty well stepped away from down there, and now I'm trying to make concerned citizens into capable citizens. And yeah, dude, we were talking about your VTAC targets early. Guys, if you've come to our classes, you know we use VTAC targets because they're awesome. They are. You put a lot of love into them.
Yep.
I ran his Viking tactical sling all through the global war on terror. And sincerely,
That's awesome.
And then I was like, because it's an 80% solution. I actually have my own sling now because, you know, everybody has their own little quirk.
Yeah.
So yours was 80% solution for everybody, but the guys that specialize their slings, well, it might be perfect for him, it's not perfect for that guy. It's like, well, I'll make one perfect for me. So we have a TR sling now, and it's decent. I'll show it to you. I'd love to get your opinion on it. I don't have it in the car right now. I got my gun belt, but I actually got a class tomorrow, active shooter at the local school.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's funny.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny how we evolve when we get out of the military. Because when I first got out of the military, I had certain views, and my views have changed significantly since I got out. And that's one of them. You know, training civilians. Some guys look down their nose at that, but I got to tell you, I mean, we're all civilians.
Yep.
Whether you're in the military or law
exactly.
enforcement, you're a citizen of the United States, and I think that's something that sometimes when we get in the military, we may lose sight of that a little bit, and I've got that completely back in focus now. I do a lot of civilian classes. I still do a lot of military and law enforcement classes too, but the civilian classes, people are hungry out there, and you know, one of the things that always makes me laugh is I see a lot of military and law enforcement guys that kind of look down their nose at civilians that want to do these classes. And what I tell them is, well, maybe you ought to come and see how good these civilians are, because there's a lot of these civilians, they're putting their own time and money into their training, and they're really, really good at what they do. And the other thing to think about is, I have a friend, Lynn Ashley, who's a former SF colonel. We were doing an event the other day for Surefire, and he said, you know, it's really nice when you have guys and gals that have a certain level of proficiency with their weapon system, because then it's easy to teach them tactics.
Yeah, for sure.
Versus you can teach them tactics, but if they don't know how to shoot, they don't know how to control their weapon, well, then the tactics just don't work as well, because you're worried about getting flagged by this guy or gal that doesn't know how to actually run a gun. So I think it's important that all of us, but especially law enforcement, military, remember that where you come from, because we're all, I mean, first and foremost, I was a citizen of this country, and guess what? Now that's where I'm back at again.
Exactly.
So.
I have got a lot of God-given talents, but to me, one of my best God-given talents is I surround myself with good people. And I have a lot of subject matter experts on our tactical rifleman team, survival guys and Krav Maga guys and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guys and gray man and medical instructors. And so our classes, we teach a little bit of everything. We just did a medical class. We actually just did a high-risk travel class, how to teach people. It started off for training corporate executives going to messed up countries like Libya with guys that couldn't have a personal security detail with them. They need to be switched on. But the more I thought about it, it's like, how is that any different than you bringing your family to Disney World?
Yeah.
You know, so that course, 3 days, it covers counter surveillance and how to report if you see something suspicious. We even get into escapology, how to get out of flex cuffs, duct tape versus packing tape because they sound different.
Yeah.
How to get out of handcuffs, how to act on a plane, how to pack, how to act in a hotel, how to do this, how to do that. It's great course, and I always wanted to be that guy to keep training the snipers and the assaulters, but now that I'm actually spending more time training civilians, I'm enjoying this more because one, like you said, there are some awesome civilians out there. There really are. One, and two, they're sponges. They're learning so much more. And the job of a Green Beret, think the French resistance in World War II, right? Behind enemy lines. Fast forward the OSS. After World War II broke into the CIA and the Green Berets, our job, an A-team, unconventional warfare, parachute behind enemy lines, take the local civilians and gather them, train them, and lead them to disrupt the enemy behind lines, force multiplier. Heaven forbid we ever have to do that on American soil, but if we do, if we ever have problems here at home, we got a guy behind us, one of your relatives actually, who is currently in my old company, A15. And I pray that if A-teams ever have to parachute onto America, that there are capable Americans there ready to help these guys out. So they're not having to start kindergarten level, just starting third grade level. Can you imagine how awesome? You think of the French resistance, you think all the past wars where unconventional warfare has happened.
But one thing that, let's go to present day.
Yep.
If you went behind the lines in France now, I don't know what you would have to work with. No, I mean, and I'm not trying to be mean to the French, but if you went behind the lines in Germany, what do you have to work with? You went behind the lines in Brazil, okay, now think about Brazilians, how much tougher they are because of their lifestyle than the French or than the Germans. And I'm not saying that Germans aren't men or French aren't men or anything like that. I'm just saying that you have tough people in Brazil. Okay, now let's go to America. I would say we're probably not as tough as the Brazilian dude that lives in the jungle, but we have guys that grew up, and gals that grew up hunting and fishing, and the fishing doesn't really help you other than maybe for survival, but they already know how to shoot.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if you were trying to invade this country and just take Tennessee and Kentucky and Ohio and South Dakota and Montana and Wyoming, any of these God-fearing states? Don't worry about the little fruity ones on the left and the right.
Yeah, the soy boys on the two coasts.
Don't worry about that. But even there.
Hell, I want them to take the West Coast.
Well, even if you go into California and you go behind the enemy lines in California, it's the same. Northern California, man.
There are good people in California. There are.
We are. It would be. It would be very.
I don't have a paint marker, but I have the infamous military Sharpie. This has circled paper targets, bullet holes all over the planet, without a doubt.
You want me to sign the back or the
front? Just sign the back.
Okay.
Sign the back.
Can I put something on there too?
You put whatever you want, Kyle. Here's the deal, guys. We're going to draw this. We're going to draw the knife. I can't get over that nickel line in there, guys. Look at that thing. That's badass. We're going to draw the knife. If you just joined us, we're basically auctioning this off. Dude, you're at $2,000.
No way.
Yeah, you're at $2,000. All right, guys, here's the deal. Every dime goes to Kyle Lamb's charity, and 100% of that money at the charity goes to a good cause. So this is what we're bidding on right now. I know some of you guys have got deep pockets because I know where some of you guys work. All right, I do. And you've got money. Some of you do. All right, so if you can afford it, put this up on the show. Put it on your desk there on Wall Street and say, here's the envelope it came in. No shit, this is.
So let me tell you what happened. So how this was made. So what I did was I took those layers of steel that we talked about. So 1084 in the middle, 2 sheets of nickel, and then 2 sheets of 15N20. When those are all put together, they're super clean. And then I take a wire feed welder and I weld this piece of steel all the way around. Then I get it in my forge and it gets heated up to forge welding temperatures, which are significantly hot. Then I take it out, and the reason it's been welded all the way around is to make it free from the atmosphere, so that you're not getting any oxidation on the inside. At that point, I peen it pretty lightly just to make sure I set my welds, and then I heat it up again. Do that again. Once more, do it again. And then I get this piece of steel smashed down to the size that I want for a knife, and then the work really begins, because now I've got to actually make the knife,
shape it, yeah.
hoping that that piece of steel turned out right. And as you can see,
Man,
it turned
guys.
out pretty cool. So getting
Guys,
that,
there's a lot of love in that. There's a lot of love in that. That's not machine made, guys. That's Kyle Lamb made. Kyle Lamb made. I can't believe you guys are cheaping out on me at 2,000. Cannot believe you're cheaping out at 2,000.
Hey, you know, I was going to tell you another funny story. This isn't really funny. This is kind of cool. So I was getting ready to head up here, and I called my buddy Ray Comley, who used to be in 5th Group, and his wife Jenny, and she also was in 5th Group. She was, I think she worked in Intel at the time, and I said, hey man, we're coming up there. We only live an hour and a half from here, but we just don't see them as much as we should.
Yep.
So what was cool about that was they showed up at our RV. We told them where to meet us, you know, like a dead drop, basically, like we're gonna have a PM at this location. And him and his wife, they come lurping in there and just come out and hung out with my wife and I in our RV. And what I really thought was cool about that was, and you can relate to this, one SF guy to another. I don't have to see you for another 10 years. And it's going to be exactly
As
like
if
it
we-
was,
yeah,
as
exactly,
if it was
yeah.
just yesterday.
Yep.
So, yeah, I told Ray he should watch this. So I don't know if he's watching or not, but yeah, Ray and his wife, they showed up, and it was just awesome to, you know, chew the fat about the good old days.
That's awesome.
And
Guys, I know y'all want the bottle because it's free. All right, that's for. I'm a cheapskate too, I guess. Stay in the fight, Kyle Lamb. All right, guys, we're gonna close the auction at 8:30, and at 8:30, I'm gonna give you what you got to put in the chat room. You can enter a maximum of 3 times. You got 9 minutes. Come on, 2,000 is the cap. Come on, I need more than that, guys. God, I wish you guys could hold that in your hand.
here, let me put some magic beard dust on there.
Oh wow!
Oh, there we go. Now it's got to be worth something more than that. Come on.
That's
Hey,
funny.
I was at the SHOT Show, and I was standing at Blade Tech. They're a holster manufacturer.
Yeah.
And
I've got a Blade Tech holster on right now. I literally do.
I'm standing there and I'm signing something, right? And I'm like meeting everybody, and it was pretty cool, you know. And I see these 2 girls coming up, and they're giggling back and forth, and they're like, hee, you know. And they come up there, and I go, hey, how's it going? And they go, hey, can we touch your beard? And I was like, no. The only woman that touches my beard is my wife. And now I would say my granddaughter is allowed.
granddaughter,
She
yeah,
touches my
granddaughter.
beard too. But they laughed, ha, I signed whatever. They disappeared. So about 2 hours later, my wife and I come walking into this 511 area upstairs, and this guy comes out of the back and he goes, Kyle Lamb, what's going on? He's a buddy of mine, Matt, and he goes, I heard the story about the girls wanting to touch your beard. And my wife was
Lost her mind.
She looks at me and she kind of slides away. And he goes, yeah, it was crazy. And Melinda goes, really? And he goes, oh yeah, here's what happened. And he tells the story. And then she slides back over and puts her arm around me. She's like, okay, that's what I want to hear.
Yeah, my wife, like a good SF wife, she's very jealous, very protective of her husband, which I think is awesome. After all these years, she still wants to be around me, which is so cool. Without a doubt, toughest job in the Army is a SF wife, without a doubt. I got to play Army for a living. I love my job, better than a rock star. But for my wife at home, I didn't realize all the pain and jackassery they had to put up with. She's watching this TV show now. She found it on Amazon Prime. It's called Army Wives. I guess it came out in like the early 2000s. I don't know. But she's been watching it, binge watching this thing. And it's about these bunch of wives and some fictitious base, and one of the guys is from Delta, and the rest are airborne guys, and the general, and it's soap opera. But at the same time, these little things will happen, and they get in a gunfight. I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool, you know. Successful mission, they slay all the bad guys. One guy gets wounded, no big deal, not bad. But they let the wife know back in the rear that they had a casualty. They know who it is. But on target, they knew 3 minutes later that he wasn't injured bad. He just got wounded. Yeah. But that part never made it back to the wives. So they were freaked out.
Yeah,
not knowing, and
that's super.
It's hard on them. It's hard on the family.
It's super close to real life.
Very much so.
When Somalia happened, you know, I was at EIE. I owe you one.
Yeah.
And so my wife was at, you know, your wife is at whatever level you're at as far as that
FRG.
FRG pecking order or whatever. So she had that experience. So then years later, all of a sudden, I'm a troop sergeant major. And they had all the wives come in and everybody met each other. And my wife told these ladies, she goes, just so you know, I'm not going to give you any information. And they're like, what? She goes, I'm not giving you any information until we know that information is absolutely true.
Yeah.
So she goes, I prefer not to know, but I promise you that you're not going to know until we know what the ground truth is, because we just can't have that happen. And they're all like, Roger that. Well, while I was troop sergeant major, I lost a couple guys in Iraq, and you know, it's sad that we know how to handle that because we've been through that before.
That's the sad part, that we've actually gotten good at dealing with casualties and casualty notification, and it's tragic, really is.
Yeah, but it allows us now to make better decisions of how we alert, you know, the next of kin. And here's the thing: if somebody's been killed, even on the battlefield, why would you call and give the call sign? We had that happen in Somalia. They give the call sign of Earl Fillmore. Well, what good did that do?
Yeah.
Nothing, because it kind of took us out of the fight, and then we had to get another call to kind of get us motivated again, all from John Hale there. And then, you know, once again, it's not gonna get better.
Yeah.
So just, you know, get through the battle first, and then we'll figure it out later. And that's one of the things when you talk about working with law enforcement, that's one of the things that we try to pass on to them, that, you know, this information doesn't need to get passed until the fight is over, because we've got to finish the fight before because it does have effect on you. When you lose somebody on the battlefield, if you know about it, it affects you. And if you don't know about it, well, obviously you're not affected, so let's just keep that information at least for that next 20, 30 minutes, or maybe it's 2 hours or whatever, and then pass it when we need to, you know. So yeah, it's unfortunate. That's the kind of stuff that we've learned, but that's some of those lessons learned that are worth their weight in gold, you know.
Yeah. All right. I didn't mean to bring us down the rabbit hole and getting us all misty-eyed and stuff. It's hard. All right. So here's the deal, guys. I believe we're still at 2,000. People want to know when you're going to start doing civilian training again.
Oh, we're doing that now. So the best way to get on that list is to go through SIG Academy, because there we advertise the classes. And then
you're at SIG Academy.
At SIG Academy. Okay. They've contracted me to do some stuff up there. That's the easiest way. The other way that we do it, we have people that contact us and set up a class, and then they fill the class. So we don't
private classes.
We don't fill the classes. We have a host that sets up the class, and then they fill the class, and then we show up and teach the class. So that's the way that we do it these days. So
we're getting ready to wrap up the auction for the knife. So going once, going twice. All right. And but here's what we're going to do. We are going to draw for this bottle. Free, not going to cost you a dime. We're going to draw at 8:45. We're only going to run this for 15 minutes. Here's the deal. To get entered, you have got to put Kyle 5 in the chat room. All right, just write the word Kyle space 5. And I don't make this up. I don't know why they picked 5. I don't know. All right, so that's what the moderators
I
picked.
have 5 fingers.
Is that what it is? All right, Kyle 5. You can put it in a maximum of 3 times. That's for you, Ray Craddock, because he'll be doing. He's got spamming.
Spam
Software and
fingers.
stuff. He's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
He's awesome. Sitting over in Hawaii right now, chilling like a villain.
Oh, there they come.
There they go.
Oh, man.
All right, here's
There
the
we
deal,
go.
guys.
Here
We're
we
going to
go.
draw in 15 minutes. All right. Kyle, I do appreciate you coming on tonight. I did not realize you were a local now, and I think this right here is some of the best therapy for your soul. Knife making, and dude, I'm impressed. You could have brought out something that looked like this and sharpened it up on a grinder, and I would have been impressed with it. But you bring out things like this, guys. That's full blown incredible. There's not a flaw at all where that metal was separated. And this was first time, or did this take you like 12 times to get it right?
That was the very first time that I used nickel. Normally I didn't put the nickel in there, but the nickel just looks awesome. And one of my buddies said it looks like a heartbeat.
Yeah.
And normally if you would just smash those equally, it would be a straight line.
Yeah.
So I did it a little bit different to get that zigzag line there.
Peening with the hammer, you think that's what it was?
Yep. So it's there's no, it's all arbitrary, I guess.
Yeah,
You know, everything just
random.
just randomly happens like that if you treat it like that. So kind of a cool knife.
Guys, these things are totally badass. Totally badass. All right,
I got a buddy of mine from Egypt that wants this knife. He saw this knife and he's like, "That's my knife," because it's got that Persian type blade
Persian
there, you
blade
know?
on it. Yeah.
So, but he hasn't made a donation yet.
Exactly.
Therefore,
Therefore, we
Sharif.
don't care. We don't care. All right, they're doing very well. All right, Susan, let me know who my winner is. $2,000. James Swain and Jonathan Grappler in a bidding war.
Uh-oh.
Susan, I need to know who my winner is, please. All right, they're gonna put it in. Top final bid. Drum roll. Is my uncle from Chicago, from Texas, James Swain. James, that is awesome. $2,000.
Dude, that's awesome.
Right?
Thank
Isn't that
you,
good?
man.
That
Thank you
is
so
awesome.
much. That's
James,
amazing.
he's my uncle down there. James, you know you're awesome, dude. You know you're awesome, and I will get to. Here's another awesome guy right here, man. Donnie Bowen. Donnie, one of my assaulters
How are
back
you,
in the
man?
day.
Hey, good to see you. Good to see you.
Kyle, Donnie, Kyle.
Yeah.
What's up?
Good stuff. That is good
I
stuff.
just wanted to also introduce my buddy. He's from Charlie 11.
I had a friend once. C11, Carl.
Marcus.
What is it?
Marcus.
Marcus, Carl, Marcus,
How
Kyle.
are you? Hey, good to meet you.
C11, what brings you here? From Okie.
I'm just visiting.
Visiting? Who you visiting? You're visiting Donnie? No, are you allowed to be on the internet, or you want me to hold up that black square in front of your eyes? You good?
It does it automatically. How you doing?
She's like, my makeup's not right. I'm not going to get on it. No, she watch it. Get her on there. My wife hates it when I put her on film. She hates it. That's okay. That's all right. All right, guys. James Swain, the winner for 2000. James, I'll get you Kyle's email address. He's one of my patrons, actually.
perfect. Yep.
And sincerely, I think of James as a uncle. I started doing Patreon, and a lot of people do it, but literally because all of our videos were getting demonetized by YouTube because I'm trying to make the world a better place instead of just doing jackassery. So my patrons, it started off as a way to pay the film crew to fly down. My film crew's out in New York City. And that's how it started. But now my patrons have we've become a family. We just did a Patreon only class down in Texas and had 40 patrons, that's a big class. 4 days, 5 days, 5 days. We did a pre-day for basics, firearm safety, and here's how you use a lever gun, here's how you use a pistol, here's how you use the different kinds of shotguns, everything. And then we wrapped it up with platform shooting from a Little Bird.
Oh, that's awesome.
So they did, and it was all, we stayed at a old cowboy town where they do like weddings and stuff. It was great time. Bar and spirits around the bonfire every night. We had a great time. And unfortunately, we were down in Texas, but my uncle James couldn't make it. His wife wasn't feeling good at the time. But James, I'm looking forward to visiting with you and your blushing bride when I get back down to Texas later this year. All right.
It's fun. It's really funny how you meet these people through doing classes, and you just become
instant friends.
Yeah, it's just like it's an old friend you've never met before. The guy that I was talking about with this knife, a funny story about him. This dude shows up in my class, and I can't tell if he's Mexican or can't tell. He's just a big dude. Yeah. He's got fingers about this big around, and he's over there and he's talking to people when he's loading. Very nice guy, super respectful and everything. And I hear him tell these people, he goes, "Oh yeah, I grew up in Egypt," and I was like, "Huh? You grew up in Egypt? Well, that's interesting." I'm thinking, so I got an Egyptian magician in my class over here. So I start thinking back to my days of going through the Special Forces Functional Language course, where I learned to speak colloquial Egyptian Arabic, which was stupid because modern standard is what everybody's speaking, but we learned to speak Egyptian Arabic.
They know why. The reason why they taught us Egyptian first, because not everybody speaks modern standard, but they all understand Egyptian because all their soap operas are filmed in Egypt.
So there
Isn't
you
that
go.
crazy?
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. A little bit of military trivia for you there.
I go over there and I'm standing on the range and I'm thinking, okay.
Here's how I say this.
Here's how I got a flash back like thousands of years ago when I was in this class, and I have to make sure I'm speaking Egyptian Arabic and not modern standard. And I walk up there and I just start rapping with the cat, and he stops and he looks at me and he gets this big old smile, and then everybody in the class is like, what did he just say over here? And we've been buddies ever since. I mean, awesome. It's been really cool, you know. And he's a Muslim dude. It's been awesome for me because I have had a little animosity towards some of my enemies.
Yes.
And a guy like him is perfect for me to talk with and just ask him these. He doesn't get his feelings hurt.
Yeah.
And I can ask him the most stupid, asinine question about, Islam, or about, what's in the Quran and what's not in the Quran.
I actually think he came and took one of our courses.
Did he?
And I believe he was talking about you, and it was the same type thing. One of my assistant instructors is an Israeli soft guy. So he really had animosity. I haven't rounded off all of Emery's corners yet.
Yeah.
But he was Egyptian. Where's he from?
He's from up in
Chicago, Detroit,
Massachusetts. Area.
Massachusetts.
Yeah. Good dude, and we've become buddies. He's become buddies with a lot of the guys that we run classes for up at SIG, and he's a repeat offender. He's in every class. He was just in a class like 2 weeks ago. But I think that's my point is, man, open up and talk to people, and you're going to meet. You don't have to be. He sent me a picture today. I got to show you this picture because I think you're going to get a kick out of it. So he sends me a picture, and this is what he sends me. So here's a picture of me on a horse as a kid.
Yeah.
Chili, one of our buddies, on a motorcycle overseas. Yeah. And then him as a kid on a burro in Egypt. Is that not awesome?
You got to show them, man. Got to show them.
Yeah.
All
so
right.
it's kind of hard to see, but you
you're not a professional holder up here.
No.
All right, so you got Kyle on the horse. Who's the guy on the bike?
Chili Palmer.
Chili Palmer. Chili. Sorry, guys.
And then Sharif.
Sharif is on the burro. All right, nice.
That's awesome.
That's cool. Very, very cool. Very, very cool, dude. And this is like one of your first ones.
No, this is one I made this not that long ago.
Okay, I was gonna say this is not preschool level. Normally when guys first start making knives, they're okay for your first knife. Dude, these, you could sell these in I mean, like if I walked into a premier knife store, this is high quality stuff right here, dude. You mastered another trade. That's awesome. That's awesome. No, dude, I just realized how much I suck. I'm like, yeah, okay. I couldn't even fix the catalytic converter on my Jeep today. Right? I got a Jeep.
Easy.
I beat
Just
the
get
hell out of my Jeep.
blowtorch and cut that thing off. And you're done.
Yeah, I can't do that. So I won a Jeep right before I retired from Maxim Magazine, and Jeep did this thing called the Maximum Warrior Competition. So anyway, it was a bunch of military. So I ended up winning a 4-door Jeep.
That's awesome.
Okay. But then I just put a 6.4 Hemi in it.
Oh, yeah.
So now it gets 7 miles to the gallon. And I just drove it. I took 14 days in October, went to Rubicon Trail.
Oh, I've done that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But from here,
you took that on the Rubicon?
Yeah. Oh, it gets better.
Okay,
I have
you're not
an
a very
off-road
smart guy.
camper
Okay,
that I
you're-
towed
yeah.
behind it.
Really?
Yeah, from here, it's 3 days. I stopped at Moab, Utah, partied in Moab. My son flew in, did Rubicon with me, and then I flew him home because nobody wants to ride with their dad for 14 days.
Yeah.
And then I went back to Moab, and Moab is just all beautiful,
We
beautiful
got this
trails
guy
and
sneaking
stuff.
in here. What's going on here? How do we
That's
do this?
that's sexy stuff right there.
Man.
Man. That is sexy stuff. All right, come snuggle.
What's up,
Come,
brother?
Donnie, how are you doing, dude?
Brother, I'm doing
Here,
well.
give
doing
him
well.
give him a mic over there.
Yeah, you need a mic. You need a mic.
Plug that in.
Thank you, Kyle. See, he's the professional podcaster. I'm new at this stuff.
Oh, man.
All right, we are coming up on. You guys got 4 minutes if you want to get in on this autographed limited edition. This was for the anniversary, the 60th anniversary of 5th Special Forces Group. There's only 2 bottles left, by the way, 3 because I got one in my man room. But this one I don't have. It's actually signed by the legend himself.
Oh, yeah.
You've got 4 minutes. Kyle 5 in the chat room. So how you been doing? Donnie, Kyle, you're not familiar with Donnie. Donnie's did last Friday's video on our YouTube channel on just rolling, what to do if you get knocked down. It's a great video, by the way. He's got, when you drove in, you passed the parking lot that was completely packed with vehicles.
Oh, yeah,
That's
yeah.
his dojo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right next
It's
door.
Combat.
Combat Fit.
Combat Fit.
Yeah.
Combat
My
Fit.
wife and I are like, oh, this is the. No, that's not
No,
it.
that's not it. That's not it. I like to come early for a live stream so I can go sneak in and watch Donnie taking the next generation of people and actually.
So what's your background in martial arts
Well, I started off with karate and taekwondo and judo. I mean,
as a child?
yeah, karate and taekwondo, kickboxing and all that.
Where are you from?
Well, my father was military. My mother and my father are from Panama.
He paused for a minute.
Yeah.
See, when he paused, you know they're either military or they're going to lie to you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But he's like, yeah,
it's
I'm
one of those things
military.
where it's like, am I from Florida or am
Yeah,
I from
yeah.
wherever? But
Yeah.
both my parents are from Panama.
Okay.
You know, I was actually born in New Jersey, but I have no recollection too much about New Jersey.
Yeah.
So, but
That's good.
yeah. But my father
Yeah.
retired out of McGill Air Force Base, so I
Yep.
claimed Tampa, Florida.
Yeah.
You know, but other than that, just all over. You know.
So then you were in 5th group
Yes.
and
A15, one of my assaulters, yep.
yeah. Oh,
and
yeah.
back in the day, but he won't toot his own horn, a lot like you, but Army combatives programs and championships here, and he's still competing. And
Try to.
what are all the little red marks on your black belt for BJJ? That basically like you're a professor or something.
So the red bar on the black belt, it just says that you're like an instructor. So I have a stripe, which is 1st degree. You get that after 3 years being a black belt. And as a matter of fact, today's the 18th, right? No, today's the 20th. So as of 3 days ago, I just got my 2nd stripe. So that's 6 years of black belt.
The cool part though is, not all good operators are good instructors.
Yeah.
It's the same thing in martial arts. And my old unit, Donnie jumped deep into the combatives program there. But fast forward, and a lot of guys did, but fast forward, a lot of them, they're good fighters. They're not good teachers. They're not. And not all good operators that are good instructors are good at training civilians.
Yeah.
You know, but Donnie has got it just, and that's what I'm sincere when I say I like to come early so I can go to his dojo. And I just like to stick my head in, because he'll have some of the young ones just getting out on the mat. And I'm like, he's got all these young little Padawans out there, and it's awesome. I'm very proud of you, Donnie. I am very proud of you.
We were doing a class, a Leischwitz knife class at our place.
Yeah.
And he made a comment. He goes, well, these shooters, these guys that are shooters, they don't know how to control their body. And my wife was like, that's really interesting that you would say that a guy that can shoot at our level can't control their body, because they treat everything like, just treat it different. You understand that because you're a martial artist.
Yeah.
I'm not. I mean, I've been beat up a bunch. I guess maybe that counts for something. But she took that and she said, okay, for our grandkids, she said, both our grandkids need to be in martial arts, because they need to know how to control their body. And they both shoot, so that's good too.
Great.
But so they've both been enrolled in Taekwondo, and they just love it. I mean, they get to do things that they can't do in school.
Yeah.
They can holler as loud as they want to holler. They can do, and they're super respectful to their instructor. He is straight off the boat, Korean dude, and just awesome.
Yeah.
And I think back to some of the stuff that we learned when we had these two guys show up at the unit one time, and you probably haven't heard of them, but their names were Hoyce and Horian Gracie. So they show up.
Of course.
And
I got to do a giveaway.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm going to let you finish the story first, because I know who won and you don't.
So they show up, and we're like, what is this Gracie Jiu-Jitsu stuff? And who are these skinny little Brazilian guys? And then after they choked out the two biggest dudes in the room, literally choked them out.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, now how did you do that again? And what was the deal on that?
Too late now, dude. We used the marker.
So it really drove home the point of
I didn't know where you
these
were.
Guys,
this will work.
we have dudes that are stronger than them, but they don't know how to manipulate, move their body and manipulate. And man, we were all ears after that. And you know the deal when guys come on, especially in this community, nobody just walks in and says, I know all of this.
Right.
Everybody goes, no, you don't.
Yeah.
Right.
The
Let's
more
fight
you
and then
think
see
you
what
know,
happens. Yeah.
the more you realize you don't.
Yep.
I try to learn something new every day.
Yep.
So that was one of the things where when I discovered jiu-jitsu, once I discovered it with my kids, I started making my kids do it. Judo, jiu-jitsu. So my kids grew up doing judo and jiu-jitsu. Yeah, I could have, I was teaching them some striking.
That's how your ear got that way, dude.
Pretty much.
His ears weren't messed up like that when he was in the unit. No, that's the truth.
Yeah,
that's the truth.
Pretty much, yeah.
He let his kids practice on him. No, like a good dad. No, sincerely.
Yeah.
So all three of my older kids, so I have three older kids that are in their 20s. They're all judo black belts, and they're all ranked in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And then I have my 14-year-old, so kind of started all over again. She is a purple belt in judo, and she is an orange belt in Jiu-Jitsu.
And why am I proud of her? Why am I proud of her?
Brother, she's kicking some butt, man. She's kicking some butt.
Yeah.
Like, seriously. She's
She
now in high school.
what's the latest title she just got?
So earlier this year, 2022, she won Tennessee State Wrestling.
Oh, that's awesome.
AAU. And
Proud
then she
father, proud friend of father.
Oh, yeah.
I'm proud. I'm
And
proud
she also
of
won
her.
the AAU National Championship in wrestling.
Wow.
And then this summer, she just won the Pan American Games in Jiu-Jitsu.
Panamanian Games.
Pan American.
You're Pan American.
Yeah.
Pan
Yeah.
American.
That's crazy.
Right? Is that not right?
And she's probably like little bitty gal.
She is. She's 5'7" now, and weigh about 122, something like that. But
You guys won it. You know who won it? All right, Susan, you can put it in there. Ramblin' Man, you won the 60th anniversary of 5th Special Forces Group limited edition bourbon whiskey from Leatherwood Distillery, signed by Kyle Lamb on the back. That's not going to get drank. He's going to put that up on the shelf. Actually, I would drink it and then I'd refill
put
it.
like iced tea in there. or something.
Iced tea or Jim Beam, something like that. Rambling Man, congratulations.
From Andy Lane.
What up?
Oh yeah.
Andy, I want to thank you
Andy,
for,
good
that's
stuff.
one of his last bottles of this. That's very cool, dude. That's very
Yeah,
cool.
man.
I appreciate it.
Cheers.
I do appreciate it.
Definitely.
Awesomeness. Guys, if you're ever around Fort Campbell, Kentucky, Fort Campbell's been my home. I went to the 101st Airborne. I was in the 101st Desert Storm when all these SF guys from 5th Group were actually getting the job done.
Yeah,
I went SF.
Not me, sitting on my butt.
True story. I'd always wanted to go SF, but I was scared to go. I didn't think I was good enough as an NCO. So I had my sniper team out in the desert, raining cats and dogs, air war. And this tan SUV with the upside down black V painted on the door comes rolling right up to my hide site. He powers down the window. It's a guy with a beard, red beard. He's got wraparound mirrored Oakley sunglasses, the rainbow ones, E7 rank, chocolate chips, a guy from 5th Group.
Yeah.
And he goes, hey man, you with the 101st? I'm like, yeah. And he handed me this Pepsi with ice crystals all over the outside of it. And said, you look pretty squared away. When you get back to Campbell, I want you to go SF.
No
And then
way.
he drove north across the desert. And I was like,
Nice.
I looked at my sniper hide that's filled to the top with water. We're wearing mop suits.
Yeah.
It's filled to the top with water. It rained the whole month of January.
January 17th.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the day.
Yeah.
Because
And
that's my birthday.
and
So I celebrated my birthday sleeping in mop level 4.
yeah, every
At King
guy.
Fahd International Airport. You remember that?
King Fahd, yeah. I was the no man's land between Iraq and Kuwait. No, between Iraq and Saudi. There's a little triangle there. That's where my little scout sniper team was. But yeah, as soon as I got home, I went to selection. I was like, I'm done with this. I'm done with this stuff. And
They got cold drinks. I'm going with those dudes.
so yeah, that's my Desert Storm Warsaw. I got my CIB for eating MREs for 7 months. That's what I got. Well, you see any bad guys? Yeah, guys going by T-72 tanks, turrets facing to the rear, because that's what Schwarzkopf told them to do. They were 20 kilometers away. That's how flat that part of the desert was. And I got a .308 rifle.
Was it dark where you were at with all the fires?
No,
when we
it
were
was
down
not.
By, Kafchi,
Yeah.
Kafchi, it was so dark. It was like, it was
No.
like middle of the day and it'd be completely dark.
I did not even know that was going. I was too far west, and all the wind was going east, so we didn't.
We could hear the spotter
I didn't do
planes,
nothing.
the little, I guess they're remote control planes. They'd fly them, they go over our head, and then they'd start bombing, and they'd go back, and we're like, what in the Sam Hill's going on? I was a commo guy,
Yeah.
so I'm just sitting out there, receiving, what are you doing? I mean, it's KL-43, what is that? You know what I mean?
Oh, I remember.
Remember that thing?
KL-43. Wow, that's
KL-43.
old school combo stuff there.
Oh my,
Old
so I
school.
started as a commo guy in the Army, in the 82nd. So I was a 31 Victor.
Okay.
So
Yep.
I was never an infantry guy. I started out as a 31 Victor. I went to basic and AIT at Fort Sill, Oklahoma. And I get to brag, and I'm in the 82nd. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. Hey, you're with those infantry guys. You got to go carry a radio and just go with those cats. And I'm like, all right, this is pretty cool. And then my wife said, you should go SF. And I go, I can't do that. And she goes, why not? You never know unless you try. I'm like, all right, I got to.
My wife's cool.
Yeah, so
I would have
tried
never
out.
passed the Q course without my wife. There's no way I would have done it.
Right after I got my beret, I thought I was the man, And we were over there going. But then you had to go through language school after after the Q course. So I'm like, yeah, this is awesome.
Straight to the PX.
I come walking out of the chow hall. And there's these two guys, and I know they're checking me out because
Green Beret.
I'm a Green
Yep.
Beret.
Yep.
My Green Beret it looks good because I came from the 82nd, so
brand-
I knew
you
how
knew
to
how to
shave
do
it.
it.
I knew
Oh,
how to
yeah,
shave
yeah,
perfect.
yeah,
The liners
yeah.
cut out. I'm looking strapped. And I come walking out, and I'm like, yep, they're looking right at me. And I run into that stupid, them little spikes they'd put out, the wooden spikes with the rope running through them?
Yeah.
I hit that freaking spike so hard that I tore my BDU pocket off my uniform.
Trained observer.
cut my leg, bruised up, and I was like, yes, and I go limping by these guys, and they're like, yeah, I really want to be a Green Beret. That guy can't even walk without running into a pole over there, you know?
They made you an echo, didn't they?
That's right, of course.
Did the same thing to me.
I tell these guys combat is hilarious. It's not that combat's not tragic, but it's funny. There are some, most of our stories, when we tell them, they're funny. They just are. I was doing this and I threw a 9-banger into the shitter and the guy comes out with shit everywhere.
Yeah.
Because that shit's funny. That's just how we tell stories. Yeah. You missed it. He was sharing a Black Side security story earlier. And I don't know, maybe we put a comical spin on things to round off the tragic corners. But nah, this shit's just funny. It is. The stories are funny. They are.
Oh, there's the crazy stuff that happens that you don't even, you know,
Let me tell you the story of the first
here it
dude I
comes.
shot.
All right.
Okay? It's actually funny.
Yeah, of course that shit's funny.
So we're in Diwania. Our task is to take this medical facility, right? I ended up on the team going in the basement. I ended up going down in the basement. We're clearing the basement under nods, freaking looking around. And I see this box over here. And I'm like, there might be a dude hiding in that box. So I go over to the box and I kind of creep over the top of the box with my rifle. And I saw something move, and I'm like, boom, 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 boom! And I just get sprayed with all this crap, and I'm like, I just started like throwing up, like, and then I realized it was a cadaver, and it was in like the
Formaldehyde.
and I had touched the water, and it looked like the dude moved.
oh my goodness.
Oh, I didn't live that one down for like 3 months, man.
Because that shit's funny. It's funny. Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys, here's the deal. We're at 2 hours already. Wow. I'll tell you what, Kyle, check that out, right? Is that not crazy? I've got our little slice of the planet, this pretty blue marble we're on, and those are all good people here. Nah. Moody, move this side, Moody. Moody is good people, but I got to give him a hard time. Jerry J, I'm not talking about you. But the rest of them are good people. These are good people here. Kyle M, the legend, if you could reach out to this slice of this pretty blue marble, what do you want to share with them? I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
Yeah, so I have a good friend named Johnny Dog, and Johnny Dog's an older fella. He's 80 years old.
Yeah, he
and
made all these.
He told me on the last trip we went together on was in Montana. We took some wounded guys hunting, and he said,
I'm knighting him.
There's 2 things that you have to remember, and this isn't something I would tell to a guy that's a current SF guy, but this is what I'd tell to a guy that's in our shoes. And he said the 2 words you got to remember are patience and compassion.
That's fair.
One of the things that I think is often overlooked in our community is the kind of compassion that, you know, we, like you said, everything's funny. We talk a lot of smack to our buddies, but we're very compassionate because we love our teammates. Mm-hmm. And I would say more than we love our own brothers.
Yeah.
Because you're tighter with your teammates and with the guys you've served with, and even other SF guys or other Rangers or other whoever you run into that's a warrior, you know, so that patience and compassion. So the patience is something that we all struggle with, and it will make you a better person if you start having a little bit of patience. And I'm telling you this because this is something I struggle with on a daily basis, because
Me too.
If you turn on social media, if you turn on the news, which I haven't done for a long time, I try to go get my news, the news that I want to hear, which that's not the right way to do it either, but apply patience to that and apply compassion to how you would deal with it. And it's going to change your outlook, whether it's with your family members You know, one of the reasons this came about is because I look at my son and I look at my daughter. Your daughters are easy to love because it's your daughter. Your sons, sometimes we want to be harder on our sons than we are to a complete stranger.
Yeah.
And that's not the way it should be.
Right.
That's your son. And here, your son's sitting right here, so he's going to hear all this, and now you're going to have to.
He just went like this. He's like, yeah, my dad is hard on me.
But you have got to have more patience and more compassion for your son than anybody that you're going to meet on the street. And if you do that with your own son, guess what? It's going to make everything better with everybody else that you meet out there. So that's all I got. I mean, I struggle with that. I know everybody struggles with it, but as Johnny Dog says, and it was kind of funny because about a week later, I was calling him up and he was pissed off about something. I said, hey, John, patience and compassion. And if you'll remember those two things and pass them on, you know, you can beat the crap out of somebody and still be patient and compassionate with them, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
There's
don't
truth
think
to
that this isn't being a sissy, this isn't being a pushover, but just think about that as you go forward.
It's good.
That's all I
Awesome.
got.
That's all he's got. All right, here's what I'm gonna do is, how about you, Donnie? You got stuff you want to share with our studio audience or our,
I like that.
our viewership?
I like what Kyle just said and everything, you know, and you know, it's one of those things too. Something to, like a certain quote by, I think it was it Seneca? It says, "We suffer more in imagination than we do in reality," you know, and that always resonates, you know, with me all the time and everything, because there's a lot of times, you know, I'll kind of be thinking about something or whatever, and I think that something is going a certain way, but you know, I gather myself, and then I'm like, no, you know, I just carry on and just make sure I focus. So, in this day and age, with all this craziness that's going on and everything, I mean, sometimes you can find yourself, you know, finding it hard to focus, and I want to say that we got to be able to stop all these distractions and try to focus.
When
you know?
when you talk about those Stoics,
Yeah.
do you know how he died? Seneca?
No, I don't.
Seneca was a pretty well-to-do dude, but he was one of the Stoics. So he, you know, did his studies along with guys like Marcus Aurelius and what was the other guy? The guy that was
Epictetus?
yeah. He was a crippled guy
Yeah.
who truly was a Stoic. I mean, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
So when I think it was Nero came and told Seneca, he said, "Well, you're the Stoic. It's time to show us your stoicism. You need to commit suicide." So Seneca was pretty old at the time. Now I wasn't there.
Yeah,
So
you're old, but you're not that
I'm
old.
not quite that
not,
old.
Not quite that old.
He was old enough that when he tried to cut his wrists, he wasn't bleeding enough to actually die from cutting his wrists. So they put him in his bathhouse and plugged all the orifices of that, and they steamed him basically to death. Basically, he suffocated, and that's how he died.
Wow.
So when you think about, you know, when you read stuff about Seneca and all these other, you know, Epictetus he's my favorite guy.
Yeah.
Man, just like you said, that quote is perfect. And then he ended up having to do that.
Steve, you ready?
Pay the price,
to take
you
this
know?
chair?
Yeah,
You ready to come
so-
out?
You know,
Guys, I got Steve Holland here, and here's the
yeah,
deal.
the
I
man.
would be wrong if I didn't let Kyle and Steve visit, because these guys both go all the way back to the fifth group. So I'm going to, even when you were with Delta, weren't you all
yeah,
shooting
yeah.
competitions and
Yep,
stuff?
yep. We were always talking.
I'm going to
trash
slide
each other.
over, and to that chair, we're going to put Steve in the middle, because Steve is, yeah, we're going to pull it up real quick. You didn't have to bail, Donnie. I was going. You want this chair?
Bill,
dude?
Donnie.
What's going on here?
What's wrong, Nick?
TR Nation, how you guys doing?
Yeah.
I miss you guys.
They can hear. No, they can hear you.
Yeah, they can hear me. I know.
They can hear you.
Here's,
Who is this?
Here's Kyle Lamb, sporting his Marlin 1895 was it SPL?
That's a
I don't
4570,
know what
ain't
you
it?
call it, 4570.
4570 lever action rifle. How about that, Australia? Aussie, Aussie, Aussie.
That's Steve.
Hey, there's a story behind this bull.
Tell us the
All
story,
right,
brother.
let's hear it.
So
Talk to us.
there I was, knee
There you
deep in
were.
hand grenade pins. That's how every good story starts, right? Huh? So there we
Yeah, it
were.
does.
So we flew in, and my buddy,
Thank you, ma'am.
he says, yeah, let's get camp set up, and then I'm going to leave you here. And I was like, dude, we're in the middle of nowhere, and it's grizzly country. And he's saying, yeah, peace out. I'm bailing, right? So we get tent set up there, Arctic oven, and he says, this guy's name is Troy. He says, all right, I'm gonna get rolling out of here. So we start getting stuff ready, and he's getting his plane ready. He goes, man, it's gonna be dark by the time I get home. Man, I think I might spend the night. And I was like, yes, Lord. Thank you, Lord. I'm going to have another dude here.
Yeah.
You know, that sounds crazy, but it's like I'm in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by grizzlies. And up there, I can't shoot a grizzly without a guide, so I can't just blast grizzlies as they come into camp, you know, at least without.
You guys noticed
Yeah.
that this steely-eyed killer said he was afraid.
That's right.
Scared.
I wasn't naked and afraid. I was just afraid. So he says, yeah, I'm going to spend the night. We had put out a little bit of scent on a bush down on on this little gravel bar where we were staying. You know, we're kind of back up in the woods, right where the grizzlies were at. You know, so he said, all right, let's go to bed. We'll get up in the morning. He goes, he had to borrow some stuff from me because he didn't have all of his stuff to stay out there. So I gave him a sleeping pad and got him all squared away. And he said, let's get up at 5 or 5:30. I forget what it was. And we'll get up, we'll get some coffee brewing, and we'll be out there ready to hunt. We'll start calling. Roger that. So we go to sleep. I wake up and I'm like, whoa, we overslept. It's like 6 o'clock in the morning. So I said, hey bro, it's 6. He goes, oh man. So he gets up and he goes, I'm gonna go start calling. You make coffee. So I pull out my
That's the way
stove.
it works.
Man, I start making coffee. I'm boiling this coffee up and I'm making like real coffee. I'm not making instant coffee. I'm making like real, French press coffee.
Black Rifle Company coffee.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Berserker blend from Black Rifle Coffee Company. Oh yeah.
There we go.
So I'm making coffee and I hear him over there doing this moose call. And then I hear this, whoa. And I'm just like you, I can't hear real well. But I hear a bull moose and it sounds like it's in the back of my tent. And I was like, oh no. I pour the coffee and I start going down the trail and I'm sloshing coffee everywhere and he's coming up the trail. He's like, I just heard a bull. He's close. Roger that. So I hand him my coffee and I've got my 4570 strapped across my back and we go down. We're maybe 50, 60 yards from our camp.
Real quick, are you planning on keeping the RV there all night?
No.
Okay.
Nope. We're going to be, we got a spot. Yep. Okay. So, we go down by a little piece of driftwood. I mean, it's not more than probably 3 foot high. And he starts doing that cow call.
Did you guys hear Kyle making that cow call?
Yes, it's more like this.
That sounds better than my minigun call.
And I hear, whoa. And next thing you know, here comes this moose, and he's like, whoa. And he's going back and forth with this big old rack, and I'm thinking,
Whoa.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Whoa.
That's what he looked like too, yeah.
Bring the pitch up again, Nick. Bring the moose pitch up again.
So he comes out.
Whoa.
Yeah, he comes out of the brush. Now, where I'm at, the rule is you got to have 50-inch minimum or 4 brow tines. Now, if you want to look, I can easily tell there's 4 and there's 5. So this is a legal bull. As soon as I see these brow tines, I know he's a legal bull.
Roger that.
My buddy goes, I don't think he's 60. And I was like, dude, he's a legal bull. He's like, well, whatever you want to do then, Well, by this time, he's standing at it's kind of, there's probably only 3 or 4 million people that could have made this shot. He's about 25 yards away standing broadside.
Oh my gosh.
So I smoke him with a 325 grain FTX. Boom! And he runs 25 yards, and now he's standing right between us and the airplane. So now I can't shoot him again because
You might hit it.
I'll hit the airplane, you know. Well, then all of a sudden this bull, he goes, whoa. And when he does, steam comes out both sides.
Oh my God.
So I know,
Go back a bit. I mean, go ahead and take that off.
so I know when the
wait
steam,
Wait a minute. What did the steam do?
it goes out both sides of this bowl.
Love it.
So when the steam comes out both sides, I know that I've got a through and through lung shot. It's just a matter, we just got to sit still because we don't want him running away because he's right there in the airplane,
Right
you know?
in the airplane.
Yeah. Well, pretty soon he starts to wobble back and forth like a drunk Indian. And all of a sudden, boom, he comes crashing down. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. We are 15 minutes into the hunt. 15 minutes into the hunt, and we have a dead bull like that on the ground. Now, when we measured him, I think he was like 56 or something. He's not a huge bull, but
he's a good
that's
bull.
that's a good bull.
15 minutes, 2 cups of coffee, and a good bull.
That's right. No, so that was it, and I'll tell you the who doesn't like a lever gun?
Aussie.
They don't like lever guns?
They love lever guns.
Oh, lever gun, yeah.
Love lever guns.
Yeah. If you don't like lever guns, your pronoun is moron. How about that? Hey,
He said it.
yeah. My first deer I
said
shot
it.
was with the Marlin 30-30 that I borrowed from the neighbor because my dad wouldn't let me use his because he had a Winchester Model 94 and he was hunting as well. And he's like, you can't use my gun because I'm hunting too. So he borrowed the neighbor's gun and I killed my first doe with a lever gun. And I've killed plenty of deer in South Dakota with a lever gun. And here's a funny thing. I'm not a fan of the 300 Whisper. So 300 Whisper, here's the reason I'm not a fan. Because it's easy for me to confuse 300 Whisper. I say 300 Blackout. 300 Blackout. What am I saying? Whisper.
No, Whisper is the first one. J.D. Jones.
Oh, yeah, okay.
SSK Industries.
300 Blackout.
Blackout
yeah.
was
See,
a-
that's
was
how
a
stupid
copy.
I am. Yeah.
Blackout
so
was a copy.
right. So the 300 Blackout is very easy for me to confuse with 5.56, and people will say you can't blow a gun up with it, which is a lie because you shove 300 Blackout into a 5.56 rifle, it will go off and it will destroy the gun. It just will. So that's the reason I'm not a huge fan of it. So when I hear guys tell me, they go, oh, you were hunting with a 30-30, and I go, I thought you liked the 300 Blackout. I love the 300 Blackout. Well, it's a 30-30. It's the same thing as a 30-30. So when I say I don't like the Blackout, you can say, hey, you're an idiot because remember you killed your first deer basically with a 300 Blackout when it was a 30-30 Winchester. So, and back in those days, our bullet selection wasn't as good as it is now, but I would say that maybe that's why that cartridge worked well was because we had bullets that came apart more, so we could make not a good shot and we could still kill a deer because we'd get fragmentation in the lungs and it would do its deed. So yeah, I love the lever gun. And that gun that you showed in that picture, it has that, what's the name of that company that does the tube there? Troy is the guy, Midwest Industries.
Okay.
That's the tube that I've got on that particular rifle.
Oh, you're talking about
the free flow tube. Yeah,
the free flow tube.
I love it.
The
I
rail,
love it. Yeah,
rail system. Okay,
and it's super easy to install too. It's very easy. So I just recently bought a 38 357 Uberti.
Yeah, you told me about that.
Oh my goodness!
You told me about that.
Beautiful
And if
gun.
you guys remember doing the Patreon course out in Texas, we had the Henry X in 38 Special 357 Magnum.
Yeah.
And that was the one that the ladies preferred to shoot versus an AR-15 and a 12-gauge shotgun. So he's basically confirming what I've been saying, that women prefer something that just doesn't roar as loud or recoil as much and blast they want something they're comfortable with. So that goes back to what I was saying on the show last week. Please continue.
Yeah, so Henry, I guess I was living under a rock. I didn't know a lot about Henry, and I got a hold of this little lever gun called it's a Henry 22 lever gun, and it's called the Evil Roy.
Okay.
I don't even know if they make it anymore, but it was made for a guy that was a cowboy action shooter named Evil Roy. Super nice guy. I got that gun and I thought, well, let's see this Henry. Let's see what it's like. That's the smoothest 22 lever gun I've ever messed with, and I've got a couple other 22 levers, and that's by far the smoothest one I own.
Well, Mr. Dan Lutz of Henry, who assists us with our review of the Henry rifles, Henry X, he's watching the show. I'm pretty sure he's glad to hear that.
Good.
Coming from the Kyle Lamb. The Kyle Lamb.
No, man, they're fun. Lever guns are fun, and is that other gun? Is that a secret or is that out now?
No, it's out now. We put it on the show.
Okay.
And Alan, got to call the big guy. Mr. Crawford. Lower receiver, please.
Oh, if that's that gun, I'm taking that
No,
thing
it's not.
home, dude.
It's not.
Because
It's
if
not.
it is,
It's not.
I'm running out the back door with that thing.
So this is the semi-automatic version of what you're going to see, because I'm going to make sure that you get
Oh yeah, that's
one
cool.
of the Fight Light AR lever action. We presented on the show about 2 shows ago. So basically, this is, imagine this. Hold up right there. You got it?
Yep.
Okay, imagine this with the lever action. Okay, so basically, using their bolt carry group, because you have to pull your AR-15 bolt carry group, take your bolt out of the BCG, put your bolt into their BCG, which is going to, anyway.
Yeah.
Up
So it's
on-
like a
this is up
short and bolt carry group, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So this one is semi-automatic. And basically, it's going to take an AR-15 upper. Now this is the Lewis Machine Tool MRP in 6.8 SPC. Can I say it again? 6.8 SPC.
I've never heard of that cartridge before.
never heard of it before.
I've never heard of that thing before.
Yeah, your former guys used to question me, man. They like beat me down. I had second chest wounds. I'm like, dude, I came out, you shot it, you guys loved it, so what's the problem? But anyway, so what's going to happen is with this, he's also made the lever action version. So imagine this with the lever action on the bottom of it. You're going to take your AR upper, your own, whether it's 5.56, 300 blackout, or 6.8, and it's going to drop onto the lever action lower. So remember, you no longer have a pistol grip. So all you California people in Australia, you're going to be legal, okay? And this is what it's going to look like.
Yeah, that's gonna be cool.
It's going to be real cool.
Yeah.
Dude, this thing right here, lever action or semi-automatic, this is sweet. This is sweet. I'm telling you. Why don't you play with it?
Yeah, that's
I
cool.
mean, it's so basically it takes all the AR-15 mags.
Yep.
And it's basically when you're hunting. Sometimes when you're hunting, you don't having a pistol grip and an AR kind of like, man, that just doesn't. Like you like to hunt with lever action. That having an AR-15 semi-automatic hunting just kind of it just doesn't.
I don't know. I kind of
It's
like
not
it though,
traditional.
too.
It's not traditional. You know. You know what I mean? Help me out now.
I'll take either one, but I like them. I love them both. I do.
Would you have hunted a moose with an AR-15?
The first moose I ever killed, I killed with an AR-15.
See, he's making me look bad.
I did. I
Anyway.
shot it with a
Anyway.
M&P, the 308 from Smith & Wesson.
Wesson, yeah.
Yeah, 308. It worked. There we go. That's awesome. No, and I think the thing is, whatever you like, if people like to hunt with a bolt gun, hunt with a bolt gun. If you like to hunt with a lever gun, hunt with a lever gun. If you like to hunt with an AR, God bless America.
I like everything about an AR.
So,
So Go ahead.
So-
You the guest.
Last year,
That's it.
I went out deer hunting, and I killed a deer with a flintlock rifle that I built.
Okay.
And that was awesome. And I enjoyed that more than any other hunt that I went on in quite a while, because it took me so far back beyond anything I'd ever done. I'd killed deer with a black powder gun before, but never with a flintlock. And it ain't easy. I had a deer at 10 yards, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I got this deer. The gun started to go off, and the flash in the pan, and I went, whoa, boom, and the gun went off. I missed by 2 foot. Well, doggone, I haven't missed a deer by 2 foot at 10 yards
Now,
probably
you guys
ever.
understand when he says flintlock, because it's a difference when you're muzzle loading and hunting.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're loading from the muzzle, but all the modern muzzle loaders, you got so many different ignition systems.
Yeah.
That it's technically it's not truly traditional. Flintlock is putting the handicap
Yeah.
on the shooter.
Yep. And I shot him with a 45 round ball.
Ah, see.
Yeah, so it took me, the third deer I shot at, I finally hit, and it was over, several days of waiting and waiting and waiting, and man, it was so amazing. And the thing that was cool was I built that gun. My wife did the wood. She did it the old-fashioned way with aqua fortis, which is nitric acid and metal shavings, and it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful, It's something that. Have you ever done that?
No.
It's awesome.
That's what I'm saying.
It's awesome.
No. there's traditional, and then there's it's a little bit too hard. But of course, looking at your knife display and what you've accomplished.
Did you hear what this knife went for?
Yeah, I heard the whole story.
$2,000. They
I heard the
just.
whole story.
That's crazy. Thank you.
I heard the whole story.
That's awesome, man.
That's an awesome knife.
That's pretty cool.
Craig Morgan is an awesome guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Craig Morgan is an awesome guy. We've done a couple of shows with John Rich, and John Rich is good friends with Craig Morgan, and they're both
Yeah,
just awesome
you
guys.
probably don't know this about Craig, but most of his big hits, I actually wrote for him. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
I just made that up. But
Yeah,
let's
I know,
spread
I
that
know,
story
I know.
around,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
Craig's a good buddy of
Yeah,
mine. He's
yeah,
awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
So
a good guy.
everything about Craig Morgan is due to this guy. And speaking of guys and spreading stories, say hello to our Goomba friend.
Yancey Harrington.
No, not Yancey. Goomba. Guy Myers.
Oh, Guy Myers.
Guy
Where's
Myers.
that dude at these days?
He's at the Halo committee.
Oh, really?
Out in Yuma.
Oh, that's awesome.
He just texted me and said he was watching.
Good, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him since like 1913, when we took a little. No, that was 1813. We took a little trip down the something like that. Yeah.
Mississippi. Yeah. No,
No,
Guy,
man.
Guy and I were on the same team in 5th group, and he was our 18 Delta. He was our medic, and he left us. Went to Panama for a while. Wrecked my Jeep. I texted him today. I said, "Hey man, you wrecked my Jeep." He goes, "Why you keep bringing up old stuff?" I said, "Because that was my rumping, stumping, going fishing Jeep. It was a Toyota Land Cruiser." So and on Fort Bragg, I used to go down.
Dude, that thing would be worth like $100,000 right now.
Yeah, it would. He got down to Panama.
As driven by Steve Holland.
Yeah.
See if you just put like that on the side of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. He when he got stationed out of Panama, I had it, and then when he's supposed to come back, then he said, "I'll come back. I want to ship it down to Panama." So we shipped it down to Panama, and he was driving around, as they do down in Central South America, drinking and whoring, and he wrecked it, like totaled it. It's like, dude. So he was like, "Dude, that was like 27 years ago." I said, "Yeah, but it's still, I feel it. I still feel it, That was my, I'm going to go get me some bass and some bluegill, some catfish.
Yeah.
Fort Bragg, looking at the map, going around. Here's a pond nobody's ever been to. Here's a pond nobody's ever been to. Off of Sicily drop zone. I was like, man, nobody's ever been here. Like, second cast, I'm in the fish. He said, "Man, I need to ship this thing to Panama." I said, "Hey, we're going to have Kyle Lamb on the show tonight." He goes, "Kyle Lamb, Tell him I said hello. That's
good.
That's my goofball.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So he texted me and said he was watching.
That's awesome. Good.
So-
Good to see him, or good to hear from him, I should say.
You guys need to talk, man. You can't, we're all getting old, man. You can't let those relationships kind of dwindle.
Well, we were talking about that before you came on, and I linked up with Ray Comley, who used to be in 5th group, and I haven't seen him in several years, and it's just like I saw him yesterday.
Yeah.
And it is we only live an hour and a half apart. You know what I'm saying? We should get together more often than.
Dude, when I talk when I'm home in Brunswick, Georgia, St. Simons Island, Jekyll Island. I talk to my family. I say, hey, how's so and so? I said, well, I haven't seen him in like a year. I said, wait a minute, he lives right down the road.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this day and age, people sometimes they prefer to text.
Yeah.
They're just like, hey, let's get together
Yeah.
and hang out. And that's why I'm so thankful that Kyle took the time out to come on the show tonight and join us, TR Nation, because I didn't even confirm and talk to him about it till this past Sunday.
Yeah.
He was like, dude, when's the next show? I said, Tuesday. He's like,
And it's funny
This
because
Tuesday?
I had a class in Georgia that got canceled. I was supposed to be in Georgia right now.
Okay.
It got canceled, and I was like, well, I'm going to get to hang around with the missus and make knives or whatever. And then you called, and I went, well, you texted me more gun porn. You know how to suck me in, dude. You're like a crack dealer. You know what I'm saying?
that's what I do, man. That's how I roll. The funny thing is, when you text me back and you said, first you said, let me look at my calendar. I said, okay. So then you text me back and said, yep, me and Melinda, we're going to be there. And right then, I'm sitting in my truck, like, I was like, okay, stop. Text is text, call is a call. I said, let me call him because this text just said Kyle Lamb is going to be on the show this Tuesday, 2 days from now. So as soon as I got Kyle on the phone, I said, Kyle, it sounds like you're ready to get off the call because it's like 8 or 9 o'clock at night on a Sunday. And I said, before you get off, I said, let me bring Carl Erickson into this call because if you hang up and I text Carl that Kyle Lamb is going to be on the show Tuesday, 2 days from now, Carl goes say, Steve, here's a jar of, the little thing he gives. Who gives a fuck? Here's a new one. Okay. So I called Carl. I said, Carl, I want another call with a guy, a good friend of mine from way back, and he's going to be the special guest on this show Tuesday. And Carl goes, Steve, we don't have a special guest for Tuesday. I said, hold on. And I merged it. I said, Carl, say hello to Kyle Lamb. And Carl was like, Kyle Lamb? How you doing? Okay, this is what we do on the show. And he started going back and forth,
Yeah, that was awesome.
I was like, oh my gosh. But it's so good to see you. So awesome.
Yeah, good to see you. I think we only run into each other at the SHOT Show.
Yeah.
And the SHOT Show sucks for us because we're just running around like crazy people. And
people are like, hey, how you doing? Hey, how you doing? You're like, man, I'm trying to get the booth number 132. I'm in row 700.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
And you just like working past all the people that are dragging the carts.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, people dragging the carts, everything's on the internet. You don't have to have all this stuff with you.
The only person worse than the dude dragging the carts that are all chained together is the dude driving the little bike, the little thing. Hey man, I'm happy for you, but they should put like a lane just for those jokers or something.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right.
No, it's
You're right. You're right.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So the other thing I wanted to ask you about was what do you? Other than the knives and the training and all this other stuff, what is like your like favorite thing to do? Just Kyle's favorite thing to do. Not for business, not for moving things forward. Just what is Kyle's thing?
Well, I have 2 grandkids.
Okay, congratulations.
So I would say my favorite thing to do is anything with them. And if I'm with them, I'm with my wife too, and we're doing stuff. And it's funny, I've been married a long time, and I just get closer and closer with my wife as we get older. And the grandkids are just, when they're there, we have so much fun with them. They're shooting, they both shoot. My granddaughter's still in shooting a BB gun. My grandson just upgraded to a 22 AR, and he's getting busy with it. And it's fun because he's on it, and he knows what he's doing. And he shot his first 22 about, I guess it's been a month ago. And what I thought was hilarious was he shot a 22. It was an AR, and about the next morning, he was taking a shower, and while he's in the shower, and I wasn't there, he's in the shower, he draws on the steamed up door of the shower picture of an AR. That dude's hooked. So my goal is to make my grandkids hooked like we are on fishing. They're already hooked on that. Hunting, they're already hooked on that. They haven't killed anything, but they love to go hunt with Grandpa, you know. And then shooting. And if I can give them those 3 opportunities, it also does a couple other things. It puts them in the outdoors. So I don't go camping. I go hunting or fishing, and then I have to sleep outside, so that some people would call that camping, but I don't just go camping. Well, with my grandkids, if they ever want to just go camping, I'm in. I'll do whatever they want to do, you know. So I would say that's probably that's one thing I like to do. And then I do a lot of reading. I read a lot of history. I do read a little bit of fiction. I've got some guys that are friends of mine that are pretty good fiction writers. Jack Carr is a buddy of mine. There's another guy, an SF guy, Jason Casper. Have you read any of his stuff?
No.
He's really, really a good writer as well. He hasn't become as famous as Jack Carr yet, but his books are equally as good. They're amazing. So I would tell people, if you're going to read fiction, check them out. If you're going to read history, I read a ton of history, and there's so many good books to read that and I like to read them. I do listen to some on tape, but usually I actually have a book in my hands. I prefer that. So,
and the reason I was pointing when you said that the grandson was shooting a 22 AR, we just had this discussion on the last show where I was showing the TR Nation one of my AR uppers that's a 22. I mean, it's exactly the same as my 6.8.
Yeah.
But it's a 22 long rifle, and we got I think, which company makes it? You got H&K and Smith & Wesson and the rest of them. But basically, I was explaining to them that from what I saw out in Texas with the women and them training to shoot and learning to shoot, a lot of guys were saying, "Here, shoot my rifle." And when I was at the AMU down at Fort Bragg before I went SF, we used to train on range 7, and we trained Independence, and they would always show up with their husbands 1911.
Yeah.
And I saw that wasn't working. So last week, I was sharing with the TR Nation, get your wife an AR-22, let her learn the marksmanship skills first before you give her a blaster.
So I was sitting at a table with, there was 3 or 4 gun writers, so they're a swarthy bunch.
Yeah.
And I try not to run in the crowd of gun writers because I don't want to catch any diseases. But of course, I'm joking. I'm a gun writer too, so I'm hanging out with these cats. With this guy, the conversation always goes to, what's the best cartridge for deer? What's this? What's your EDC pistol? What? Blah, blah, blah. This has been several years ago, and somebody said, what's your home defense weapon? And I said, well, mine's an AR. AR, but what, aren't you worried about over penetration? I go, what do you mean? Well, aren't you worried about how many walls you'll shoot through? And I go, well, no, because what are my choices? We could shoot a 9mm. And I said, well, that'll go through more walls. And then we had that conversation about what's going to penetrate more. And then I said to this other guy, I go, what's yours? And he goes, mine is my home defense weapon is the M&P 1522. And I said, wait a minute, your home defense gun is a 22. And he goes, yep. And he let that sink into everybody. And I said, all right, finish the story, because there's more to this story you got to tell us. And he said, well, I got a 12-year-old daughter. Okay, it's starting to make more sense. He said, I have a M&P 1522 with the red dot sight on it. I got a vertical grip. I have a sling. and I have a light on it, and I've got 25 rounds of Stinger ammunition, CCI Stinger loaded in the magazine. And then I pictured myself breaking into his house, and a 12-year-old girl that knows how to shoot popping around that corner and starting to shoot me with 22 CCI Stingers. Dude, that would be miserable.
Yeah.
Absolutely miserable.
Because as I told you guys, or shared with you guys, I don't tell you, someone with a 22 can zero on an eyeball and just round after round after round after round within that distance of home defense. And everybody, of course, oh, you got to have the 300 blackout, you know, or some of you guys had
or it's got to be a 45.
The ultimate round they talk about is a 6.5 Creedmoor. It's like nothing has ever killed anything in hunting, self-defense, home defense, personal defense, or whatever. Nothing has ever done anything until the 6.5 Creedmoor came along. And I'm sitting here talking about 22 long rifle, and no recoil, no muzzle blast, no movement of that red dot. It just sits there. And if you come in to someone and she's 12 years old and she gives you about 7, 8, or 9 of those, like right there within a half inch, okay, don't talk to me about ballistic coefficient.
Well, yeah, and it may not kill that person, but they're going to be extremely miserable. You know,
like you said, I don't want nobody peppering me with some CCI stingers.
Man, I don't. Yeah, you know? No, I don't want that. And when he said that, I was like, dude, that's a good call. You know, and I've told that story many times, and never once have I heard anybody say, "Oh, that's stupid," because it's not stupid. Because if that little girl is trained to protect herself in that house with that 22, good for her. You know, that's awesome. So
and it went back to what I experienced with the women out at the Patriot course in Texas, where the AR-15, I had 2 or 3 women that said, "I'm done for the day. I don't want to do anything else, no more shooting," because they was dealing with these rifles on a 25-yard range shooting VTAC targets, of course, and all the guys have these muzzle brakes that vent left and right.
Yeah, they're miserable.
And I talk to you guys, TR Nation, all the time. You don't need to vent left and right. You need to, if you're not running a suppressor, you need to look into the linear muzzle brakes that push everything forward. And when the women got off the AR-15s,
can I add to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Why not a suppressor?
No, I'm saying for those that don't own the suppressor.
Okay.
So for the ones that don't own the suppressor, when we were shooting, I'm standing there with the lever action rifles, and they're 15 yards from me on the next table, and every time they crank off a round, it's like, boom.
Yeah.
You know, and I had 3 women that looked at me and said, I'm done. I said, give me one more round.
Yeah.
And I put them on the lever action rifle, shooting 38 special, and it's like, ladies, I'm running out of ammo.
Yeah.
I'm out of ammo.
Yeah. Yep.
And we played the videos, and it was, I know Susan's watching. She's a moderator, so Susan can tell you. She got on that lever action. She's like, oh my God, this is so much better than the shotgun and the AR. Yeah. So when I talk to them about shooting 22, not just training, but learn the skills first.
Yeah, I have a lot of guys that'll show up, and one of the rules, and I don't teach wives to shoot anymore. I've done that in the past, but I don't do a lot of, okay, hey, a bunch of wives are going to show up and I'm going to shoot with them. But one of the things I always saw was the dude either said she's going to shoot my gun, or she's going to shoot this gun that's tiny and pretty and made for a woman. And it's like, okay, so it's a revolver, which is impossible to shoot. So if I can't shoot a snub nose airweight 357, why would I give a lady with much smaller hands than me that same gun? It's impossible gun to shoot. That's one. The second thing is, if the gun is pink, that's probably not the gun that she should be shooting. It should be something that she can shoot, not a specific color. So I'm a big fan of shooting a gun that actually works for, works for whatever you're going to shoot.
He just confirmed what I was talking about when I was showing the AR-22 long rifle.
Yep.
But he went to the next level. actually using it, his 12-year-old granddaughter is using it, that's a whole defense.
Well, this was a friend of mine. It was
Okay,
his
friend of
daughter.
yours.
Yeah,
His
yeah. He
daughter.
had set it up for his 12-year-old granddaughter, or 12-year-old daughter. So, anyway.
All right, so I got to undo my mic here. It's hooked up on a tomahawk.
Okay, we're gonna jump
bailing?
subjects real quick.
All right, I'm coming to sit. I got to
know, I
rescue
know.
Kyle from Steve
Oh,
Holland.
good. So,
Nick, bring up the video of the vehicle. I want Kyle to see this.
All right.
You remember the great battle between Whiteside SF with the fire defense vehicle and then your guys, former guys, with the Polaris Razor? We put the gun from the
Apache, that's 30 millimeter chain gun.
30 millimeter chain gun.
yeah, now we're talking. Dang, man.
Where's the other one at? They're all gone? Play them again. Play them one more time. Guys, that's Steve Holland behind those, right? So don't feel sorry for Steve. Steve's got to do some fun stuff in his
That's
life.
crazy, man.
I've never shot a 30 millimeter.
No.
I've shot the 25
I had the
millimeter
brass
Barrett.
fall on my head. That's
Now,
not fun.
we set this up. This is the same targeting system, similar to the old Mark 47 grenade launcher.
Yeah, yeah.
Where you laze and adjust and you engage. And the Apache has proven itself in Afghanistan and every place else. That is the 30 millimeter shell that gun is firing. One more time, Nick.
Shit.
Now watch the truck. Watch the suspension on the truck.
I want you guys to
Paul Murphy.
I want you guys to
Pay
appreciate
attention.
this. All right, Nick, put it back for a second.
That's
I want to
crazy.
show you guys the bullet. 9 millimeter,
30 millimeter.
30 millimeter. I want that guys, you can't even make that up. All right, go back to the video, Nick.
Oh, yeah.
Watch
I'm totally a 30 millimeter.
the suspension,
Oh, sorry.
suspension on the truck.
That was the question.
What's that thing, dude? It's not moving at all.
Oh,
that's freaking crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All right, so thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's 30 millimeter.
M230 LF.
I don't know.
What time is it? It's time for me to go.
Time for you to go. Time for me to go. Time for you guys to go. All right, we're going to watch it one more time.
This is the gun off the Apache on a vehicle.
Yeah, we're jealous, Steve. I want you guys to note the California license plate on the back of that flyer.
That's awesome.
Why? Because if I'm going to California, that's what I'm rocking. All right, here's the deal, guys. I want to thank you all for hanging out with us tonight. Kyle, I want to thank you for coming out. It's always a pleasure having great guests on here, but really having Kyle M., the legend. So, dude, you have blown us away with how much of a great human being you are, and that's just totally cool. I would like to invite you to come back in the future whenever you want. We try to do this every Tuesday, and if we can't do it Tuesday, we'll do a Monday. We call it Military Monday instead of Tactical
man.
Tuesday.
I appreciate it.
But consider yourself open invitation if you ever want to come back. We know it. Big Al back there. That boy can cook. I love Big Al.
Good to meet you, man.
But I want to thank all you guys for hanging out with us tonight. I want to thank our sponsor tonight, USCCA. Right, be that good protector that you need to be. USCCA membership will help you prepare for before the fight, during the fight, but important, guys, is after that critical incident. Understand, we in the military just had to deal with internal, external, and terminal ballistics. What happens in the body. You as a civilian, us as a civilian, if I pull the trigger to defend my family, that bullet goes right through the bad guy, goes directly into the jury pool, and you will have to defend your actions. So anyways, check it out. USCCA, thank you so much. Steve always wants to show up after the conclusion. We love you, Steve, just not that much.
You know what that is?
Let me guess, is that Steve Holland?
That's Big Al.
That's
Oh,
Big
that's
Al,
awesome.
the Mark 44. I love the Mark 44.
Mark 44, 30 millimeter. That's
All right,
how
guys,
people roll.
you know the deal. We'll see you next Tuesday, and y'all take care and shoot straight.
Coming right there. Coming right there.
Incoming right there. Incoming right there.